What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
3WS. Chapter 51 Keto Competition. Suppress the big keto long. Advertise here. It was beyond Bai Chen's expectation. Without warning, the air behind him should have been empty. But suddenly there was a burst of shouting. A reverent brat from Soul Society. Strangers are not welcome here. Inside the deep, thick voice revealed the undisguised deep hostility. Obviously, the master of this shout. I feel very dissatisfied with Bai Chen's rash intrusion. Who are you? Turn their backs to each other. The first time I heard this shout, in addition to feeling a little awkward, Bai Chen also has a feeling of deja vu. Immediately, a dark face flashed in my mind. Really? When Bai Chen turned around slowly and looked towards the source of the sound. Just take a look. The facial expression becomes extremely wonderful in an instant. It really is you, Urahara Kazuki's partner, Sunday's day keto long. Tessai Tsukubishi. At this time, the end of Bai Chen's line of sight. A tall and burly figure was looking at Bai Chen from the air with his hands crossed over his shoulders. A large pair of reflective glasses, almost balding lax hair, and an old-fashioned tooling that highlights the muscular lines. This moment, image of Tessai Tsukubishi, it is exactly the same as what Bai Chen saw in the anime in the past. The only difference is, after identifying Bai Chen as an entry trespasser, Tessai Tsukubishi's face is no longer simple and easy-going. The brows that are almost twitching into a ball show the level of vigilance in his heart at the moment. You actually know me. Looking at him through Bai Chen's eyes. The seasoned Tessai Tsukubishi instantly judged that his identity had been exposed. In addition to hostility in the eyes. In an instant, a dense cold light emerged. But in fact, 6:30. Even if Bai Chen doesn't know himself. From the moment he deliberately stepped into this area. Anyway, Tessai Tsukubishi will definitely not let the other party leave easily. The reason is simple. Exclamation mark. It was seen through by Bai Chen using his perception ability. That keto ward that envelops this vicinity. Created by him Tessai Tsukubishi himself. And after so many years of strengthening, the concealment effect has already reached the best. Therefore, unless it is the same level of keto strength, or someone who is barely inferior, it is possible to easily see through the existence of the keto barrier in a very short period of time. But the problem is, in Tessai Tsukubishi's opinion, Bai Chen is too young. The most important is, since I haven't officially graduated yet. At this moment, Bai Chen is still wearing a white court uniform. And is the great keto long of yore. Before defecting from the Soul Society, Tessai Tsukubishi gave lectures at the Spiritual Arts Academy more than once. Naturally, he recognizes what this courtyard uniform means. Look at each other. Face off. Maybe it's the unwillingness to take unknown risks for a long time. After a moment of stalemate, Tessai Tsukubishi was the first to lose his composure. While staring at Bai Chen, he asked in a cold voice. Say it. Who the hell are you? Why do you have to break in here? What are you searching for? This series of questions, like one bomb after another. With the blessing of Reiatsu, Tian Ding's sense of oppression is brought. Unfortunately, this level of oppression is naturally ineffective against Bai Chen. Bai Chen, who has long been accustomed to being with captain-level Shinigami. It is also impossible to be easily fooled by Tessai Tsukubishi's few words. If I say, I really just passed by here unintentionally during the practice of soul burial. If you explain it like this, you probably won't believe it. By now, Bai Chen has already seen it. Because of my rash intrusion. It stimulated Tessai Tsukubishi's long-standing defensive psychology. So, it doesn't matter how he explains it next. On the contrary, it will only cause more misunderstandings. Obviously dissatisfied with Bai Chen's answer. Tessai Tsukubishi's last trace of patience is finally exhausted. This time, he no longer conducts verbal questioning. Toa directly chose to do it. Keto enchantment, Kai. The palms covered with cocoon lines suddenly gathered together. Tessai Tsukubishi eyes fixed. Reiatsu, who was as deep as an abyss in his body, also exploded with his shout. This moment, when the majestic Reiatsu spreads all around. And the moment when it gradually merged into the air. It was sensed by Bai Chen before. That keto barrier hidden in the air. Finally, amidst the deafening roar, it quickly revealed its true face of Mount Lu. At this time, there are waves in the air. Although the spiritual concentration in this world is not as strong as that of Soul Society. Can be pulled by Tessai Tsukubishi Reiatsu. All the spirit particles in the air suddenly condensed into one piece. In just a few breaths, it turned into a spiritual power wall like a white glass cover. Looking from a distance, it seems to be a white curtain hanging down from midair. Completely isolate this area from other nearby blocks. Is it imitating the keto enchantment of Sailing Bee? It's a big deal. Bai Chen looked up, staring at the white arc-shaped light curtain covering the top of the head. Surprise from the bottom of my heart. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. He couldn't imagine it. Obviously this is a remote and deserted suburb. But there is such a huge keto enchantment hidden. Visible, in order to hide their whereabouts. Avoid being targeted by Aizen because of exposure. Over the past few decades, how much thought did Tessai Tsukubishi spend on building this Kido enchantment? Liar Shinigami kid, no matter what purpose you came here for. After subduing you, I will naturally have a way to interrogate them all. Finished speaking, and don't give Bai Chen any chance to defend himself. With a thought in Tessai Tsukubishi's mind, the Japanese stock is stronger than before. It exploded from his body without reservation. Boom! A mighty wave of Reiatsu rises from the ground. With the isolation and shielding of the Kido barrier, Tessai Tsukubishi is not worried at all when going all out. His Reiatsu, and the upcoming Kido, it will cause two violent fluctuations in Karakura Town, which will be noticed by the Technology Development Bureau of Soul Society. Hehe, Tessai Tsukubishi, since you insist on doing it, then I'll play with you. Ignore the oncoming oppression. Let the waves of Reiatsu blow over his face. Bai Chen not only did not panic. Instead, the corners of the mouth are slightly raised, outlining a playful arc. At present, the sign in reward has arrived. And walk around with the wood-style clone. The number of purified souls required to complete the soul burial practice has also been reached. And there is still a long time before the end of the allotted time. Therefore, now that I forcibly leave here, the follow-up is also the case of doing nothing. It's better to stay here, and have a fair Kido duel with the former chief Kido in this Kido barrier. By the way, by Tessai Tsukubishi the guinea pig. Let's test how strong the 4 Red Yang formation, who just signed in is. At the same time, seeing that he was faced with continuous oppression of his momentum. But Bai Chen never changed his face. Even half a smile, showing a playful smile. Tessai Tsukubishi can't bear it. I think my dignity has been greatly challenged. Ever since. In the case of an outburst of anger. He gritted his teeth hard, and recited the text word by word. O King's Lander, mask of flesh and blood, Vientian, fluttering wings, crowned with human tea, O slaughter. Carve double lotuses on the wall of blue fire, and wait for the abyss of fire in the distant sky. Hado 73, double lotus Kengwo pendant. The moment when the Kido chant falls. Tessai Tsukubishi spread out his hands, his palms are full of energy. With the super strong Reiatsu at the captain level. And hundreds of years of Kido combat experience. The two groups are extremely hot and explosive. Suddenly condensed into shape in the hands of Tessai Tsukubishi. Just a moment away, the temperature in Kido's enchantment quickly climbed to the scorching boiling point. It even distorts the air visible to the naked eye. As expected of the great Kido who was admired by thousands of people in the past. Even though I have escaped from the Soul Society for hundreds of years, I have been living in this world where spiritual power is scarce, and I have neglected to temper with Kido for a long time. But once it enters the actual combat state, you're back to the top in an instant. Eyes met Tessai Tsukubishi calmly. After feeling the looming dangerous aura emanating from the 2 balls of flame explosions in his hands. Bai Chen is not stingy with his compliments. A heartfelt endorsement of Tessai Tsukubishi's Kido prowess. Spare yourself. My accomplishments and accomplishments in Kido. Never need anyone's approval, not even Genryujai. Tessai Tsukubishi let out a huff. Without any procrastination, open your hands and palms forward. Explode those 2 incomparably hot groups. In the simplest and rudest way, do your best to push Bai Chen. 2. Even if the explosion explodes. At an extremely fast speed, it rolled towards Bai Chen. But, Tessai Tsukubishi was surprised to find that Bai Chen is still standing still. Neither released Reiatsu. No chanting was performed either. There is no sign of trying to escape. It would be as if. Bai Chen seems to have given up struggling. Even if I'm about to be hit by a pyroblast, I don't intend to resist. Faced with such a strange situation, Tessai Tsukubishi's first reaction was not to naively think that Bai Chen really planned to commit suicide. On the contrary, he cheered up. On the dark complexion, there is a deeper layer. Look of vigilance. XXX. His hunch was right. Just when the 2 flaming explosions were less than a few meters away from Bai Chen. Under the disheveled bangs, Bai Chen finally spoke slowly. Hado's 81 aldehyde. It is clearly different from Tessai Tsukubishi. When Bai Chen released Kido, there was no shout of anger. At the same time, it did not deliberately release its majestic Reiatsu. There is no long and complicated Kido chant. He just said it lightly. It's like small talk when talking about family life. Lightly pronounce the name of splitting void. The next moment. Boom. After the ear-piercing roar. A gigantic transparent light curtain radiating blue gleam was like a moat in front of Bai Chen. Just at the moment when those 2 groups of flames exploded, they were about to explode. They perfectly withstood the impact of the flames. Boom. Flame burst. Detonate the air. Countless spiritual particles, because they exceeded the ignition point, made a crackling sound. Yeah, when the raging flames, after a burst of shock after another. But still can't shake the transparent light curtain at all. It can't even cause any slight cracks on its surface. After seeing this scene, Tessai Tsukubishi, who was originally gloomy, suddenly changed his expression in an instant. The hostility and arrogance in the eyes, quickly replaced by shock and disbelief. How can this be? Abandoning the splitting void chanted, it actually blocked my Shuanglian Kengwo pendant so easily. How did you do it ultimate? Tessai Tsukubishi pupil earthquake. The scene before him was as absurd as a fairy tale in his eyes. To know, Tessai Tsukubishi's Reiatsu, even among the powerhouses at the captain level, they can occupy a place. Not to mention when he cast Kido just now. He gave it his all. Released in full chant. On the other hand, Bai Chen. Not to mention frivolous attitude. There was no sign of any instant Kido beforehand. Tessai Tsukubishi couldn't believe it the most. Shuanglian Kangwo pendant, B. And the serial number of splitting void is 81. There is almost no difference in serial number between the two. It also belongs to the category of high-level Kido, and there is no obvious gap. Therefore, this further demonstrates that, how much advantage did Tessai Tsukubishi have in the fight just now? But even so, until the last ray of flame is completely extinguished. Can-splitting void barrier, always standing. This made Tessai Tsukubishi even more unacceptable. Surprised. In Soul Society, there are many Shinigami captains, and they all showed the same expression. Staring at the opposite side, he saw Tessai Tsukubishi's obviously groggy expression because he was too frightened. The corner of Bai Chen's mouth rose. A satisfied smile appeared. Actually, the reason why this happens. It's not that Tessai Tsukubishi's Kido is too weak at 1.7. The opposite of. Instead, it was because of Bai Chen's ultimate control over spiritual power that any Kido was in his hands. Can play double the effect than before. Besides, what satisfied Bai Chen was that, past the round of Kido competition just now, Bai Chen once again tested his Kido strength in actual combat. Obviously, with the same effort, his Kido strength is no less than that of Tessai Tsukubishi. Really reached Kido long level. Of course, it was just a defensive round. For this rare Kido competition, Bai Chen has not fully enjoyed it yet. So, Tessai Tsukubishi, the next round is reversed, it's your turn to parry my Kido bombardment. The voice fell. No action was seen from Bai Chen either. The vast and incomparably transcendent Reiatsu was released from his body without reservation. Not only did it set off smoke and dust everywhere. At the same time, it caused the air to roar and vibrate. As well as, Tessai Tsukubishi's exclaimed again. What? Did you feel wrong? A white student from Spiritual Arts Academy who is clearly wearing it. And keeps claiming that he is here to participate in the soul burial internship. But a college student who hasn't graduated yet, how can he have at least the third-class spiritual power? This moment, Tessai Tsukubishi finally understood. Why Bai Chen even gave up singing instant Bakudo. Still able to easily block his full blow. Turn out to be. Bai Chen Reiatsu is so strong. Powerful enough when the Reiatsu blast presses on you head on. Live in this world for a long time. Tessai Tsukubishi who has not experienced a fight for many years. Because I can't get used to it in a short time. I actually felt it vaguely, and my breathing began to gradually become difficult. But, Bai Chen hasn't even started releasing Kido yet. Chapter 52 Exhausting Kido. I would like to call you the strongest. Advertise here. Are you really just a college student? The burly body under the old work clothes. Like a sculpture, it stood motionless in place. Let the strong wind of Reiatsu hit you, almost blowing away the few remaining bald hairs on the top of the head. At this time, Tessai Tsukubishi's expression is extremely embarrassing. Especially when he felt the pressure from Bai Chen, the anger in his eyes faded further. Instead, it was since he defected to the present world that year. In the past few decades, fear that have never been seen before. Yes, the moment when the real threat is faced. Even if Tessai Tsukubishi's own attitude. Deeply repulsive and hostile to anything related to Shinigami. Yeah, he remains sane for the time being. While suppressing the anger, try to communicate with Bai Chen. If not, Bai Chen asked calmly, have you ever seen a soul who can wear this courtyard uniform casually and come to the world alone without permission? But, how come I never remember? Spiritual Arts Academy students, before graduation, have the strength of captain level. Tessai Tsukubishi frowned, although he couldn't find any reason to refute Bai Chen. D.A. In Tessai Tsukubishi's impression, until that year when he was forced to defect and leave Soul Society. Among the previous students of Spiritual Arts Academy, only Ichimaru Jin and Shiba Kaien are really caught by his eyes and qualified to be called geniuses. However, stronger than these two geniuses, until joining Gote 13 after graduation. At most, it only has the strength of 3 seats, not even an adjutant. Therefore, after making a comparison, Tessai Tsukubishi will be even more shocked. Because, what happened to Bai Chen? It's beyond Tessai Tsukubishi's comprehension. In his opinion, it is unreasonable. And this time. Watch as Tessai Tsukubishi calms down temporarily. There is no reason to continue attacking him mindlessly. Bai Chen thought about it and decided to confess his identity. My name is Bai Chen. But even if I take the initiative to tell the name, you who have been away from Soul Society for many years, you must have never heard of it. Finished speaking, Bai Chen had a nonchalant expression on his face. I don't worry about any negative impact because my identity is exposed. Undeniable. Because of the strong performance in the last month. He received the attention of the entire Soul Society, and became famous even before graduation, becoming a household name and a rising star. But Bai Chen doesn't think. My fame is so big that it surpasses the Soul Society, and it has gradually spread in this world. However, it turns out, Bai Chen really underestimated himself. The moment he told his name, Tessai Tsukabishi's expression suddenly changed drastically. His eyes widened in astonishment. Bai Chen, oh, it's you. It's no wonder you have third-class spirit power. And in Kido actual combat, you can be on par with me, the great Kido leader. It was beyond Bai Chen's expectation. Tessai Tsukabishi not only knows himself. Even the details and current situation are well known. Is it because of Yoruichi? Bai Chen's eyes flashed. Although very surprised, but I immediately thought of Shihun Yoruichi who can transform into a black cat. To know, Karakura Town, the city of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Except Urahara Kazuki and his group. Vizard also holds another turf all to itself. And among all these strong men who defected in the past, it can only be transformed freely. And Yoruichi is, Flash Goddess. Ability to move back and forth freely between this world and the Soul Society. And this is also in the original plot. The one thing Yoruichi does most often. The purpose of doing this. Just to be able to understand in real time. The latest on everything happening at Soul Society. So, Bai Chen, you, who haven't graduated yet, really just passed by chance, so simple. After learning of Bai Chen's identity, Tessai Tsukabishi's frowning brows gradually relaxed, and there was not much hostility left in his eyes. Undeniable, although his temper is a bit stubborn. But Tessai Tsukabishi is not unreasonable, since there is no grievance or enmity with Bai Chen. The other party was not instructed by the Shinigami to search here deliberately. Then naturally there is no reason to continue fighting. The answer is not important, is it? I'm not as good-tempered as you imagined. See it though. In Tessai Tsukabishi's eyes, there was a clear intention of giving in. But Bai Chen directly chose to ignore it. I don't intend to give the other party a step down. After all, from the beginning, it was Tessai Tsukabishi who took the lead, suddenly activated the Kido barrier to block the retreat. Bai Chen asked himself, if it weren't for his strength being strong enough. If it were anyone else, I'm afraid they would have already been taken down by Kido's offensive. In order to let the other party get the lesson they deserve. And for further enjoyment, this rare Kido competition. Hado's 88, Flying Dragon Striking Thieves Shocking Thunder Cannon. Bai Chen raised his hand. Full body Reiatsu broke out again. Instantly turned into a mighty thunder beam. While emitting bright blue light, like a leaping brontosaurus, it roared towards Tessai Tsukabishi. Repay the other with the way of the other. Now that it's the turn to take the initiative to attack. Then Bai Chen naturally has no reason to show mercy. Tessai Tsukabishi, if you can't even bear this trick, then you are not qualified to ask me to use 4 Red Yang formation. After freeing Kido, Bai Chen put his hands out, the blue spirits surged around him, and the white court uniform made a buzzing sound. He stared calmly ahead, stand like a winner and see what Tessai Tsukabishi does. At this time, facing the continuously enlarged thunder beam within the line of sight. Tessai Tsukabishi's expression, he showed a very dignified face. He couldn't help swallowing his saliva again, and muttered to himself in horror. Obviously abandoning singing, instant Kido. Its scale and destructive power are comparable to Kido above 90. This Bai Chen is truly a monster with his talent and strength in Kido. When the offense and defense switch, when he became the defensive side, only then did Tessai Tsukabishi deeply feel how terrifying is Bai Chen's Kido strength. But he quickly put away his redundant thoughts. Because with the continuous head-on bombardment of the thunder beams, time for Tessai Tsukabishi to respond. Almost nothing left. I didn't expect. In a fair Kido duel, I was forced into such an embarrassing situation by a new student. I really can't accept my old age. He said self-deprecating words full of helplessness. Tessai Tsukabishi gritted his teeth, his eyes flickering violently. Reiatsu, who was as deep as an abyss in his body, exploded again. Quickly, when the momentum reaches its peak. In the mouth of Tessai Tsukabishi, the voice of Bakuto chant suddenly sounded. The proud son of heaven, the iron city wall, the dragon's walk, the lion's roar, the tiger's roar, the wolf's run, cut off the world before it collapses. Bakuto's 81, splitting void. Everything seems to go back in time. The scene that happened not long ago was staged again. The only difference is, before, when Chen released splitting void, he looked relaxed and freehand, and even Reiatsu didn't try his best to release it. But now, Tessai Tsukabishi not only did his best, and also release Kido in full chant, and the same Kido. Different release methods. There is a difference between the two, and it is obvious that Bai Chen is better. Then, when the transparent light curtain exudes a blue gleam. When it suddenly fell from the sky, it towered majestically in front of Tessai Tsukabishi. The azure blue thunder beam also struck head-on at this time, carrying the destructive power of destroying the world. In Tessai Tsukabishi's shrinking pupils, he slammed into the transparent light curtain. Boom 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 boom. Thunder beam burst. Lightning flashes. Countless blue filamentary lightning, under the extreme blessing of Reiatsu, continuously wanders and ionizes in the air. It just wiped everything out. Gulu. Watching the endless thunder and lightning blast through everything. Even with the splitting void barrier in front of you. But at this moment, Tessai Tsukubishi still felt his scalp go numb, and couldn't help swallowing heavily. At the same time, a strong premonition of uneasiness suddenly rose from the bottom of my heart. If things go on like this, the splitting void barrier, isn't it going to shatter soon? Original. As the head of the great Kido, Tessai Tsukubishi should have had absolute confidence in her Kido. Face the monster Bai Chen. No matter how confident Tessai Tsukubishi was before. At this moment, I dare not take it lightly. Really. His premonition was right. After a few seconds, Tessai Tsukubishi soon saw the scene that made his eyes tear up. Crack. After a crisp tearing sound, the surface of the splitting void barrier, under the continuous bombardment of those fine lightning arcs. Cracks started to appear gradually. Even though it just happened. It hasn't spread yet, still gave Tessai Tsukubishi a shock. Impossible. My splitting void barrier was released with all my strength in a full chant. It's about to be crushed soon. Tessai Tsukubishi was dumbfounded. The tiny cracks that appeared in front of his eyes made his scalp tingle. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, Tessai Tsukubishi would never have thought otherwise. The splitting void barrier that I released with all my strength is as fragile as a lens. Vulnerable. What made Tessai Tsukubishi even more frustrated was that, up to now, Chen still hasn't performed any recitations. This also means, the thunder beam that exploded just now. The power and destructive power are only 1/3 of the original. Visible. Bai Chen's Kido strength. How terrifying. Even Tessai Tsukubishi, who is the Grandmaster of Kido, couldn't help but want to call him, the strongest. But, acknowledge the opponent's strength. It doesn't mean that you will easily admit defeat if you hold your hair tightly. The majestic Kido Long. Even this title is already a past honor. But Tessai Tsukubishi's character has always been full of resilience. So, Kido enchantment. Set. Wide and thick palms. After exuding majestic spiritual power, he roared and slapped forward vigorously. Single quote dot. Boom. With the injection of a lot of spiritual power. Originally, due to the bombardment of lightning, the splitting void barrier that collapsed was almost torn apart. Finally, completely stabilized. Except for a small amount of slight shaking, it is as stable as Mount Tai. Quote. Because of the rapid consumption of spiritual energy. Tessai Tsukubishi was sweating profusely. Until the remaining lightning arcs disappear in a large area, and they will no longer pose a lot of threats to the splitting void barrier. Tessai Tsukubishi breathed a sigh of relief. Bai Chen. Even if the offense and defense are switched. But in the end you still can't shake my Kido. Although these words sound a little shameless. After all, after releasing Kido, Tessai Tsukubishi also infused Reiatsu halfway through. Use this to augment the splitting void barrier. Yeah. In order not to make myself look too embarrassed in front of Bai Chen. Tessai Tsukubishi no longer cares about face issues. And what he just said was also his last stubbornness and decency as the chief Kido. Hehe. Then you mean we're even again. The corners of Bai Chen's mouth turned up. Only then did he realize how thick the other party's face was. That is the truth. Anyway, the splitting void barrier is still there, and I haven't been suppressed. So theoretically, this confrontation, even as the defensive side, I should have won. Tessai Tsukubishi said more and more outrageous. In the end, he was so shameless that he thought he was superior. You won. I'm so embarrassed to say it. Bai Chen was stunned for a moment. He finally understood why Tessai Tsukubishi and Urahara Kazuki were partners. One likes to play tricks and pranks. And the other thick-skinned, almost like a rascal. The two are simply a match made in heaven. So. Brother Bai Chen, serial number 88, Flying Dragon Striking Thieves and Shocking Thunder Cannon. It should be the Hado with the highest serial number that you have been able to display so far, right? Tessai Tsukubishi takes off his reflective glasses. After wiping the sweat from his forehead, he asked meaningfully. The implication of these words is obvious. Kid. Even flying dragons, thieves and thunder cannons can't do anything to my broken, good Zhao's empty barrier. What else can you do next? It's impossible to learn the legendary Kido at such a young age. That is a powerful force that even the captain-level Shinigami is difficult to control. Of course, even if Tessai Tsukubishi didn't say so. It is impossible to hide his thoughts and inner thoughts from Bai Chen. Bai Chen raised his eyes. See the other party's confident expression in his eyes. Puckered his mouth and said with a playful smile. Tessai Tsukubishi, you are right. Currently, I really haven't touched the threshold of legendary Kido. First of all, it is generous and voluntary to admit. Bai Chen then changed his voice, and his eyes instantly became sharp. But, who said that in this world, only the legendary Kido represents the strongest? While speaking, the spiritual power in Bai Chen's body was violent. This is a sign that the Kido is about to be released again. What's the meaning? Tessai Tsukubishi frowned, and said in a deep voice with doubts, the legendary Kido, is the Kido with the highest serial number. It's also the most advanced spell that ordinary Shinigami can come into contact with. Speaking of which, Tessai Tsukubishi suddenly remembered something. His eyes widened, and his pupils dilated rapidly. Looking at Bai Chen, he asked in disbelief. Bai Chen. You can't be able to create your own Kido. In fact, when this sentence was asked, Tessai Tsukubishi probably already knew that. Because, Bai Chen's nod, already expressing clearly. Really, Tessai Tsukubishi just finished speaking. At the moment when the aura climbed to the peak, Bai Chen performed the Muji spell with awe-inspiring aura. Ban Kido. 4 Red Yang formation. The moment when the sound of drinking suddenly sounded. Tessai Tsukubishi saw suddenly, looking everywhere. The air around. There was nothing. Countless dark red flames appeared out of thin air. At this moment, the temperature broke through the original boiling point. It soared thousands of degrees in an instant. Chapter 53 Urahara Kazuki's Invitation. Watch out for that man. Advertise here. Boom. Without warning. When Bai Chen's drink sounded sonorously and forcefully. Tessai Tsukubishi was horrified to find out. Every location he glanced at, the air that was originally empty. EXXX. Countless dark red flames appeared out of thin air. The fire is huge, burning blazingly, exuding a blazing breath. Influenced by temperature in this area, it also breaks through the original boiling point in an instant. Suddenly it soared to a terrifying 1,000 degrees. Ban Kido. And these flames. Bai Chen. What the hell did you just do? Soared with the temperature. And Tessai Tsukubishi's blood pressure and mood. When a large amount of heat is continuously surging from the surroundings. A palpitation more terrifying than horror. Suddenly rising from the bottom of Tessai Tsukubishi's heart. When all kinds of emotions are intertwined. The former head of the Kido finally couldn't bear the pressure, he roared and questioned hysterically. Tessai Tsukubishi. Why bother to ask? As the head of the great Kido, don't you also master the Ban Kido? It's not so surprising, is it? Bai Chen showed a faint smile. Tessai Tsukubishi's gaffe and panic was exactly what he wanted to see. Not just to intimidate the opponent. At the same time, it also proved from the side how strong the 4 Red Yang formation is. At present, just the initial stage after surgery. It actually broke the big Kido's mentality directly. And according to Bai Chen's estimate, densely covered in the air, each cluster of dark red flames will gradually increase in temperature as they continue to burn. That is to say, the 1,000-degree high temperature is already terrifying. It's just the starting temperature before the ceiling barrier is formed. As for how scary the final temperature will be, 3,000 degrees, 5,000 degrees, or even 10,000 degrees of super high temperature. Everything is possible, after all, after the improvement and strengthening of the system, and the transformation of local spirits. The power and intensity of any ninjutsu. It all depends on Bai Chen himself Reiatsu. As long as his Reiatsu is strong enough, it will definitely be able to support the continuous heating up of the flames. At the same time, under the anxious gaze of Tessai Tsukubishi. Before he can recover, originally, it was just scattered flames, that is, gathering and approaching dragons constantly while swaying. Just less than a moment. They were quickly connected end to end, forming a crimson light curtain, and then suddenly rose from the ground. Boom. In less than a moment. Gripped the ground beneath Tessai's feet. It was as if a 330 magnitude earthquake had occurred, with extremely violent vibrations. And the frequency and intensity of vibration. It even caused Tessai Tsukubishi, who was standing in midair, to stagger and lose his balance, almost falling directly from the air. Hateful. This is too exaggerated. How can a ceiling barrier of this scale be created out of thin air by one's own strength? Tessai Tsukubishi's heart twitched. The gloomy complexion, under the reflection of the fire, looked like the face of a dead man. As the commander of the former Kido, inside the Shinigami career over the past few hundred years, Tessai Tsukubishi has led the Kido's subordinates more than once, following the orders of the captain in the 46th room. In various places of Soul Society, many large enchantments have been set up. And I want to create a large enchantment with the same scale and power as the 4 Red Yang formation. First, hundreds of people must work at the same time. Secondly, in terms of time, it will take at least a few days and nights. Or even longer. But now, Tessai Tsukubishi can feel it just by intuition. The strength of the 4 Red Yang formation. It must be higher than any large enchantment he has encountered in the past. But the ceiling barrier was built even in a short period of time. Bai Chen not only changed his complexion. Even breath is steady, not even a drop of sweat. It's as if, create a large enchantment out of thin air. For Bai Chen, this is just building blocks. Everything is as simple as child's play. Correct. Tessai Tsukubishi, there is one thing that you should be worried about. Bai Chen looked up. Look away from Tessai Tsukubishi. Then I looked at the top of the head, the spiritual wall that was originally hidden in the air, but was opened and revealed by Tessai Tsukubishi. Dark eyes. After a random glance, Bai Chen then pointed out Tessai Tsukubishi's concerns. If you are worried, the spirit wall that you have worked so hard to build for many years will be blown up by my 4 Red Yang formation. As a result, the means of concealment will be lost, and if you are forced to reveal your whereabouts. That's unnecessary. The voice fell. A cunning flashed in Bai Chen's eyes. Then his hands clasped together suddenly, and the surging spiritual power exploded again. The enchantment is fixed. A light drink. Perfect control. Under the control of Bai Chen's mind. The four red yang formation originally had a soaring momentum, as if it was about to set fire to the sky. In the process of rising violence. At the moment when it is about to collide with the white spirit wall. Unexpectedly, BDFF stopped suddenly. Not only the scale and height are finalized in an instant. Even the flames on the surface of the barrier, at the moment of rising and swaying, the erupted flames are just lower than the lower eaves of the spirit wall. Almost to the point of the most precise control. At the same time, it also perfectly ensures that the spirit wall will not suffer any damage. Watching Bai Chensho operate helplessly, Tessai Tsukubishi remained silent, feeling extremely depressed in an instant. Undeniable. Bai Chen is right. He was really worried that the spirit wall would be pierced directly. Yeah, seeing this scene happen, Tessai Tsukubishi will not be stupid to think that Bai Chen is helping himself. The opposite of. Bai Chen did it on purpose. He intentionally created a cage of flames. It not only shields the outside interference, but also traps Tessai Tsukubishi, making him surrounded by flames and constantly being burned. In the end, because the fire intensified. As a result, negative emotions continue to intensify until the psychological defense line completely collapses. This is the scary thing about four red yang formation. One unless the operation is terminated by Bai Chen himself. Otherwise, no one can escape from the flame cage. Bai Chen. Due to rising temperatures. By this time, it was already more than 1000 degrees. Instead, it is about to approach the high temperature of 2000 degrees. The exaggerated temperature also caused Tessai Tsukubishi to sweat like a waterfall, and a lot of hot sweat flowed down continuously. His sight. It has also been seriously disturbed. When I looked at Bai Chen again, my vision sometimes became blurred and sometimes clear. The whole person is in an extremely uncomfortable state of torture. By now, I have to admit, whether it's the strength of Kido, or the control over Kido. No matter which aspect, I, who tried my best, have obviously been suppressed by you all the time. His eyes dimmed. Tessai Tsukubishi lowered his eyes and sighed exhaustedly. He reluctantly admitted, although I am very unwilling. I really want to continue to compete. But in order to avoid worse consequences, I have to admit, in this fair Kido duel, I lost in the end. Trapped in the scorching flames. After realizing that it is impossible for him to break through the four red yang formation in a short period of time. Tessai Tsukubishi finally chose to bow his head. Let go of the pride of being the head of the big Kido, and take the initiative to admit that you are not as good as Bai Chen. Condolence. If you admit it earlier, wouldn't the misunderstanding be resolved? If it is later, the clothes on your body will be burned immediately. There was a bit of teasing in Bai Chen's smile. Both enjoy the thrill of defeating the big Kido in the Kido duel. Also very satisfied with the power of four red yang formation. To know, at this level alone, Tessai Tsukubishi has raised the white flag to surrender. This, are Bai Chen in order to avoid complications. The result of intentionally limiting the four red yang formation. That is to say, whether it is the scale or the temperature of the barrier flame, it is far more powerful than it is now. If Bai Chen let go of the restraint, he no longer deliberately restricts it. Then the four red yang formation in full bloom. It not only penetrates the world, it even covers half of Karakura Town. Then, watching Tessai Tsukubishi give up the struggle. Bai Chen also had no intention of suppressing the opponent further. But, just after he lifted the operation, when the fire barrier of the four red yang formation slowly dissipates from top to bottom. Another direction not far behind. But suddenly there was a light and playful laugh. Oh heh, what a Kido match. It ended so easily, it's really not enjoyable enough. A sudden sound, not only broke the original atmosphere. At the same time, it immediately attracted Bai Chen's attention. Has it finally appeared? Bai Chen turned around leisurely. He looked towards the source of the sound. Even before his eyes met, he had already guessed who it was. Urahara Kazuki. The moment when Bai Chen's gaze froze. His eyes also reflected the figure of the other party. Under the green and white bucket hat, Urahara Kazuki smiled with a relaxed expression on his face. And the loose stubble on the chin. It added a bit of vicissitudes to him. The store manager. You did it on purpose. The same gaze turned to Urahara Kazuki. It's just that Tessai Tsukubishi's eyes are full of complaints and resentment. Be honest. How long did you hide your breath just now and peek from the side? Tessai Tsukubishi asked coldly, with his knowledge of Urahara Kazuki. This unreliable old partner must not have just appeared. Instead, it has long been nearby, quietly observing in the dark. Tessai, are you asking me to complain that I didn't save you just now? Stepping on clogs, leisurely forward. While talking, Urahara Kazuki took out a wooden folding fan from inside his sleeve robe. Then ignored Tessai Tsukubishi. Instead, he turned his head to look at Bai Chen, waving his folding fan and smiling. 2 against 1 to besiege the enemy. Brother Bai Chen, you must dislike this disgraceful behavior, right? Certainly. We should be more polite to guests who come from afar, shouldn't we? Bai Chen replied calmly. So, I apologize for Tessai's recklessness at the beginning, brother Bai Chen. Also, I would like to ask, are you interested in entering the house for a chat? Urahara Kazuki changed the subject and suddenly sent an invitation to Bai Chen. Oh, Bai Chen raised his eyebrows. Can't help feeling surprised. He didn't expect that Urahara Kazuki, who only met once, would take the initiative to invite himself to talk. Did you notice something? Eyes met Urahara Kazuki calmly. From the opponent's emerald-like pupils, Bai Chen felt a trace of sincerity and curiosity. Urahara Kazuki is interested in herself. And no matter what he wants to talk about next, at least he doesn't hold malicious intentions. Brother Bai Chen, how are you? Urahara Kazuki said with a chuckle. You shouldn't refuse my invitation, right? #08. It's really not suitable for conversation. After looking around, his eyes glanced around. Bai Chen nodded slightly, and immediately landed smoothly. Then, following behind Urahara Kazuki, walked towards the distant shop. Undeniable, the original intention of looking for the Urahara store in the first place. Just to complete the check-in tasks and get rewards. Bai Chen never thought about it beforehand. There will be an intersection with one of Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukubishi. Instead, he planned to leave this area quickly after unlocking 4 Red Yang formation. But, now that we have met by accident, and Urahara Kazuki unexpectedly sent out an invitation. So compared to refusing in person if you don't understand the world, Bai Chen is more inclined. Get some goodies for yourself here from Urahara Kazuki. After all, this clogs man. But in the entire Shinigami world, there is no one with the highest IQ and brainpower. And it was still in the Millennium bloody battle. One of the 5 special combat powers that Yuhabach values. Therefore, suppose you make friends with Urahara Kazuki. Not to mention anything else, if you encounter trouble in the future, he will really come to you if something happens. No matter how bad it is, you can also take some black technology props from Urahara Kazuki. Soon after, inside the Urahara store, located in the deepest part of a secret room shrouded in enchantment, Bai Chen, Urahara Kazuki, and Tessai Tsukubishi sit quietly on the futons in the shape of pin. There is a steaming cup of tea in front of everyone. I didn't expect. It turns out that as early as half a month ago, you have already started to pay attention to me. Pick up the teacup. Bai Chen took a sip, and the taste buds on his tongue were immediately filled with the fresh scent of tea. Ajaj, brother Bai Chen, please forgive me. Take off your fisherman hat. After tidying up the slightly messy hairstyle, Urahara Kazuki deliberately lowered his voice, looked at Bai Chen and said in a deep voice. Civilian background, blank background, ordinary status. It stands to reason that there are so many souls with the same characteristics in the vast Rukongai, isn't it rare at all? But why is it that you are the only one who stands out and possesses third class or higher spiritual prestige? This is not something that might happen to an ordinary soul. Lift your fingertips, beating rhythmically back and forth on the table. Urahara Kazuki's words revealed doubts and surprises. It seems to be indicating something. So, Urahara Kazuki, do you want to know my secret? Bai Chen crossed his arms. He stared at Urahara Kazuki without changing his face. If next, the other party intends to get to the bottom of it, then Bai Chen will get up and leave without hesitation. However, what surprised Bai Chen was, Urahara Kazuki shook his head. Brother Bai Chen, you misunderstood. Everyone has his own secret. Even if I'm really curious, I won't be rude to offend your privacy. After a simple self-clarification, Urahara Kazuki went on to continue the topic. Since even I will deliberately pay attention to you because of this, then it's even more impossible for that man to sit idly by. When saying these words, Urahara Kazuki's expression gradually became serious. That man. Bai Chen's eyes flickered slightly. That's right. Not long ago, he even just met you. That hypocritical man who deceived everyone. Aizen Sōsuke. It was beyond Bai Chen's expectation. The reason why Urahara Kazuki took the initiative to invite him to have a secret talk. Actually, because of Aizen. Chapter 54 Conspiracy arrives. Threat from Hueco Mundo. Advertise here. Watch out Aizen. No matter in the past or now, this man wearing a mask has always deceived everyone. The entire Soul Society is caught up in his lies. It was beyond Bai Chen's expectation. In the case of meeting for the first time, Urahara Kazuki doesn't beat around the bush. Instead, it's straightforward and exposes Aizen's true colors. Quote ? Aizen. Due to the sudden incident, Bai Chen didn't expect it in advance. The reason why Urahara Kazuki took the initiative to invite himself to have a private talk. It turned out to be the real purpose. It's actually for earnest warning and advice. After listening to Urahara Kazuki's words, Bai Chen's first reaction at the moment. Instinctively surprised, he froze for a moment. However, because of this unintentional move, his demeanor and facial expressions, after being spotted by Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukubishi, the two looked at each other. Then he patted his chest, and heaved a sigh of relief inwardly. Fortunately, we seem to be betting right. Brother Bai Chen, as I expected, you are really kept in the dark. I don't know anything about Aizen's true face. The corners of Urahara Kazuki's mouth turned up. The solemn expression on his face gradually disappeared. The voice is no longer deliberately lowered, and the voice becomes relaxed and joyful again. Actually, for Urahara Kazuki, what he just said was no less than a gamble. Almost put all my trust in it. Fortunately, response given back by Bai Chen. Urahara Kazuki did not disappoint. He can firmly believe that he did not find the wrong person. Bai Chen is that, been looking for someone for years who is not only trustworthy but capable of taking on Aizen. And at this time, as a trusted person, because all the inside stories have been clear for a long time. And during the martial arts test, Bai Chen had clearly realized that Aizen was starting to target him. So, since it was a mistake, I gained the trust of Urahara Kazuki. Then Bai Chen didn't intend to directly echo him. Instead, he decided to play acting. Follow what Urahara Kazuki said just now. After frowning, he pretended to be puzzled and asked. Etc. Mr. Urahara, could it be a misunderstanding? In my impression, Captain Aizen is a complete, good guy. At the same time, in Gotei 13, recognized as having the best temper and the most popular Shinigami captain. Such a person who occupies a high position and is respected and loved everywhere, shouldn't be a bad person. In order to make my acting skills look more realistic. Bai Chen then questioned, Urahara Kazuki didn't feel wrong in the slightest. Instead, he smiled lightly and said, Bai Chen, I knew you would ask that. Actually, this is quite normal. If you choose to believe what I say without any doubt, it will be untrue. Urahara Kazuki picked up the teacup and took a sip calmly. Then he asked Bai Chen, Brother Bai Chen, so what do you think of Aizen's Zanpakutō, the Kyoka Suigetsu? Urahara Kazuki continues to lead. Getting closer to the point. This. Black eyes swirled in the eye sockets. After Bai Chen thought for a while, he answered without thinking. Because at present, there is only one side relationship between me and Aizen. Except for the martial arts test a few days ago, there is no deep contact in private. Therefore, I'm just hearing about his Zanpakutō ability. Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukubishi looked at each other. Bai Chen had a natural expression. Slowly speaking, it is currently recognized in Seraiti. Publicly narrated by Aizen himself. About Zanpakutō Kyoka Suigetsu's abilities. In my impression, Zanpakutō Kyoka Suigetsu is a Zanpakutō of the flowing water system. Its capabilities after liberation use the random reflection of fog and water to interfere with the enemy, causing them to kill each other. As early as decades ago, before Urahara Kazuki defected. In front of Gotei 13 and all the team members, Aizen deliberately released Zanpakutō to show his ability. From then on, this saying is widely circulated in Seraiti. It has become a fact, recognized by everyone. Hee. Sure enough, newcomers from class to class have been brainwashed by the same excuse. Hear Bai Chen's words. Urahara Kazuki's eyes flashed slightly. He sneered disapprovingly. Then, shaking his head in denial, he said. Bai Chen, you are wrong. That's exactly what I just said, a lie deliberately fabricated by Aizen. Actually, Kyoka Suigetsu's abilities are not like that at all. He drank all the tea at the bottom of the cup in one gulp. Urahara Kazuki delivers the final reveal. 5 senses hypnosis. This is Kyoka Suigetsu's true ability. This ability gives Aizen the power to dominate and manipulate other people's 5 senses. And the condition for launching it is to witness the moment when Kyoka Suigetsu is liberated. A secret that will be endured for many years. He spit it all out in one breath. Urahara Kazuki's state instantly relaxed a lot. Then. He was framed for this. That's why I was forced to flee Soul Society as a sinner, helplessly. Now, in front of Bai Chen who is an outsider. It is not easy to have the opportunity to express the grievances that have been buried in my heart for many years. Naturally, Urahara Kazuki couldn't help but vent it all in one breath. So, why you came to me? It's because I just entered school, and I haven't seen the liberation process of Kyoka Suigetsu yet, right? Bai Chen asked seriously. That's right. It's just different talking to smart people. Urahara Kazuki nodded noncommittally, and explained with a chuckle. According to my judgment, because of your superior performance, as well as your strong talent. I guess it won't be long, Aizen will definitely find a way. I have the opportunity to show Zanpakutō in front of you. Urahara Kazuki said firmly. With his superb brain power, even in this world, he still knows Aizen's behavior like the back of his hand. I see. Looks like I showed up just in time. Otherwise, one step later, your hope of dealing with Aizen will be destroyed again, right? Bai Chen joked with a smile. After the conversation just now. Bai Chen no longer needed to continue to pretend. Him at this time, in the eyes of Urahara Kazuki. It is the last straw to sanction Aizen and subvert the conspiracy in the future. That's right, even though we only met once. But I don't want to see another genius fall, Urahara Kazuki said confidingly. Unknowingly, during the conversation, he has already regarded Bai Chen as his ally, by default. If not, I will not confess my heart without reservation. Say it, what do I need to do to be able to deal with Aizen? As well as, the voice paused, the corners of Bai Chen's mouth rose slightly. After looking at Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukubishi respectively. With anticipation, he asked, "How can you help me?" The implication of these words is obvious. Want to make an alliance? You have to be sincere enough first, right? He. Brother Bai Chen, don't worry about it. Since everything is going well, we have also become friends who trust each other, so naturally I won't let you go back empty-handed. Pick up the bucket hat from the table. After putting it back on, Urahara Kazuki stood up holding the fan. Then walked towards the back. Let's go, little brother Bai Chen. I'll take you on a tour of the showroom here. If you value an item later and think it will help you, then feel free to pick and go. Stand at the exit leading to the aisle. Urahara Kazuki made a, please, motion sideways. At the same time, he said in a calm and generous manner. And these words, it also instantly lit up Bai Chen's eyes. Showroom. It should be the place where those black technology items are stored. I happen to need certain things too. Bai Chen was pleasantly surprised. In fact, even if Urahara Kazuki doesn't mention it, he still plans to find an opportunity to make a deal. It's good now, since Urahara Kazuki has already said so. Then he will be able to take the props he wants openly and above board later. Subsequently, follow behind Urahara Kazuki. After passing through the narrow corridor all the way, the Japanese pedestrian came to another room. Soon after, in a showroom full of shelves, Bai Chen's voice sounded. Mr. Urahara, I'm done picking. I'll take these few things with me later. At this time, inside the dazzling array of scientific research props around, Bai Chen has been carefully selected a few black technology props that he believes will help him in the future. Let me see what are. Come to Bai Chen. Urahara Kazuki glanced down. Then read out the names of the items that Bai Chen held in his hand. Black cloak. Turn into a divine body. Electromagnetic accumulator. And, you even passed on Tetsuya's Kido training experience. After seeing the last item, Urahara Kazuki was stunned for a moment, and then showed a dumbfounding expression. We agreed to take away only the experimental props. Unexpectedly, Bai Chen actually took Tessai Tsukubishi's carefully recorded Kido cultivation experience from Tessai Tsukubishi. He is really a wool expert. Of course. Asking for flowers. Bai Chen lifts up arm, shaking it in a showy way. The book in his hand looks a little old, but it contains a lot of insights and experiences in the Kido practice diary. Then he said contentedly, although there were some misunderstandings before. However, after some communication, in order to help me break through the threshold as soon as possible and comprehend the legendary Kido, Mr. Tessai is still very generous, and gave me this practice log. With it, in the future practice of Kido, we will surely get twice the result with half the effort. Bai Chen grinned slightly, revealing a satisfied smile. Without any exaggeration, compared with those black technology props just now, this Kido training journal presented by Tessai Tsukubishi, it is truly a priceless treasure. After all, Tessai Tsukubishi was once the chief Kido. His insights and cultivation experience will definitely be of great help to any Shinigami. Brother Bai Chen, you are welcome. Now I am far away from fighting and strife, just an inconspicuous porter uncle in this shop. Since this is the case, if this practice log continues to be kept, it will only be ashes forever. It's better to give it to those who really need it and deserve it. Tessai Tsukubishi laughed heartily, but without any reluctance. Instead, as a Kido senior, expressed appreciation and recognition for Bai Chen in Kido. Mr. Tessai, thank you very much. With this training log, maybe it won't be long before I can easily learn the legendary Kido by myself. Bai Chen is not exaggerating. But I think so from the bottom of my heart. Him today, 0. In terms of Kido's strength, it has reached the point of a perfect grandmaster. All Kido up to number 90. All of them can be undiminished, released instantly without singing. And want to continue to break through. Originally, it needs to accumulate over time, continuous precipitation and perception. But now, this is a Kido training log. It is equivalent to the experience that directly fills the vacancy in this area. So with it, Bai Chen will be able to learn by himself without a teacher. Even relying on his existing strength, he can achieve it in a short period of time. Brother Bai Chen, although all the things you chose are not precious items, but I sincerely hope that they can be of help to you. Urahara Kazuki swayed the folding fan, returning to the usual flick. Enough is enough. The black cloak can have an unexpected effect during the critical period. As for turning into a divine body, it will also help Bankai's cultivation. Bai Chen said with satisfaction. He has only one ultimate goal, that is to achieve success in a short period of time. Only increase your strength as soon as possible. Only then can we have enough confidence to deal with Aizen's secret calculations and conspiracies. #J. It should be early now, right? Do you want to stop sitting for a while and drink a few more cups of hot tea before leaving? Urahara Kazuki changed the subject. Bai Chen happily agreed. Anyway, it's still a long time before the end of the soul burial practice. A rare visit to this world. And accidentally became friends with Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukubishi. Naturally, it was a rare opportunity. Make more connections. At the same time, what is not clear to Bai Chen at all? The man they mentioned earlier, Aizen. At this moment, there is also some action in the dark. At this time, 5th team building, in a hidden underground base that is not known to outsiders. The light flickered on and off. There was silence. There are only a large number of monitoring screens that are constantly flashing in the dark. At this time, in front of rows of monitoring screens, Aizen is standing on the armrest, his eyes under the reflective lens are staring intently at every monitoring screen in front of him. If there are outsiders present, it will definitely be a shock. Because, all pictures that appear on the screen, all are real-time monitoring from Karakura Town in this world. That is to say, as early as Bai Chen they were about to set off. And from the moment they collectively entered the world transmitting gate, Aizen is watching everything in secret. Ah. Those avatars just now should have been created through the ability of Zanpakutō, right? I didn't expect that Bai Chen's Zanpakutō has such weird abilities. Aizen sighed. Ichimaru Jin's exclamation came. Through the monitoring screen, they easily found the avatar. Only, to the surprise of Aizen and Ichimaru Jin. Every wood-style clone. They all seem to have great power. It's not as simple as an ordinary blindfold. That's amazing. Silver, is the plan ready? Ignoring Ichimaru Jin, Aizen asked in a deep voice. Captain Aizen, you are ready. Ichimaru Jin replied with a smile. A colony of Manos Grande from Hueco Mundo, ready to strike anytime. At that time, Bai Chen's Zanpakutō ability will inevitably be exposed. Chapter 55 Desperate Moment. Savior Bai Chen. Advertise here. At the same time, when the harvest is full of Bai Chen. Stay in the Urahara store in a happy mood, while drinking tea and chatting leisurely with Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukubishi. As everyone knows, the crisis has quietly arrived. From the beginning of the soul burial practice, everyone's every move is under Aizen's secret surveillance. Aizen, who has always been in control of everything. Naturally, it will not be easily missed, a rare opportunity outside of Soul Society. At this time, downtown location in Karakura Town. The roof of the tallest house. A few figures in deadly costumes are gathering here, and the team badges on everyone's shoulders are engraved with the pattern of daffodils. This is the symbol of the Juban. Apparently every Shinigami present is a member of Team Juban. Vice Captain Matsumoto. It seems that the overall execution ability of this year's 6th generation students is pretty good. Currently, only 1/3 of the time has passed. More than half of the people have completed the minimum assessment standard for the internship task. A member of the 10th squad named Nagasawa. Bowing down, with respect in his eyes, he looked at Matsumoto Rangaku in front of him. As a Shinigami stationed in the present world, in the past few months, Nagasawa and several other Shinigami around him were responsible for the security patrol of Karakura Town. Now with the soul burial practice begins. Naturally they have to match up with Matsumoto Rangaku as adjutant. Ah ha ha, thank you for your hard work. Next, continue to patiently count the real-time purification status of each 6th return student. Matsumoto Rangaku nodded in satisfaction. Although she is the one who is in charge of leading the team in name. But actually after the present world, Matsumoto Rangaku doesn't have much to worry about at all. First, there are these subordinates in front of you. During the soul burial practice, any disturbances will be reported by the team members as soon as possible. Secondly, the scope of 160 soul burial practice. It is not the whole territory of Karakura Town, but it is specially divided into one day. And it was long before the world transmitting gate opened. The people from the Technology Development Bureau will join forces with the station Shinigami to clean up this area. 100% safe. No accidents will happen. Therefore, with these two premises, Matsumoto Rangaku can be so relaxed. After all, before this, she has already had the experience of leading a team for practice several times. And every time before, it ended successfully in the end. What's more, since the birth of the soul burial practice ceremony. Over the past few decades, there have never been any mistakes. The 6th generation students are 100% safe, and there is no way they will be injured. Therefore, for Matsumoto Rangaku, this time leading a team for an internship is more like a leisure vacation. And among the many interns, the only thing she cares about is naturally only Bai Chen. I don't know what happened to Bai Chen. It stands to reason that with his strength, he should have completed the mission long ago. Why can't I see the figure for a long time? Beautiful eyes looked around. Looking at the scenic blue sky, Matsumoto Rangaku couldn't help but look dark, inevitably feeling a little lost. If only Bai Chen came back sooner. In the rest of the time, you can find a quiet place where the two of you can be alone. Enjoy the rare two-person world. It's a pity, Matsumoto Rangaku originally thought. According to Bai Chen's personality, after quickly purifying the 5 wandering souls, he should return immediately. Unexpectedly, it has been missing for a long time. But, for the specific reasons for it, Matsumoto Rangaku didn't think much of it either. Anyway, the time is still long, and the progress of the internship is only less than half. It's impossible for Bai Chen to show up near the end, right? At the same time, in the southwest direction of Karakura Town, in a block near the suburbs. Big brother, thank you. Thanks to your help, otherwise I would have been wandering helplessly. Although my body is becoming more and more transparent, I feel the warmth that I haven't seen for a long time. At this time, a wandering soul that had just been purified not long ago. Facing the figure holding Zanpakutō in front of me, I sincerely express my gratitude. Go with peace of mind. I look forward to meeting you at Soul Society. Hisagi Shuhei grinned. He waved goodbye to the little girl who had been purified by him just now. Big brother, goodbye, finally, with a flash of white light. The little girl's soul disappeared completely, and she was led to the Soul Society for rebirth. It's amazing, Mu Shubing. If I remember correctly, this is already the 13th wandering soul you have purified. Continuing at this speed, it is bound to break the historical record of the previous soul burial practice. Several 6th generation students around me. They all cast admiring eyes on Hisagi Shuhei. However, facing the worship of the crowd, Hisagi Shuhei was very calm. Not at all proud, but shook his head with a wry smile and said, quote. As this year's chief student, I can only save some face for 6th return students in terms of the number of soul purification. I can't be crushed by Bai Chen from the beginning to the end. Hold Zanpakutō in hand. Hisagi Shuhei's expression was very helpless. If Bai Chen hadn't participated, he wouldn't have worked so hard. The purpose is to restore the respect of all 6th generation students. Lest even the performance of soul burial practice be compared by Yukong later. That would be a real laughing stock. Alas, there is no way. He is the candidate for the quasi-captain. After graduation, he is destined to cause looting by various teams. Actually, if you think about it from another angle, with him participating this time, the safety factor will also be maximized. We don't have to worry about suddenly being attacked by Joe during the purification process. Another 6-year-old student said objectively. A false attack. Hisagi Shuhei shook his head. Raising the Zanpakutō Fengshi in his hand, he said disapprovingly. Even if there is a ghost, it's just the most common one, the easiest one to deal with. My Zanpakutō, Wind Death, can easily harvest them. Hisagi Shuhei said confidently. As a top student who has joined the 9th division ahead of schedule, he has not officially graduated. Hisagi Shuhei has naturally awakened Zanpakutō, although there is no experience with virtual combat. But, under the guidance of the officers of the 9th division, Hisagi Shuhei has accumulated a wealth of actual combat experience and knows how to flexibly use Zanpakutō to fight. So naturally I don't take the ordinary imaginary seriously. However, just when he finished saying the word, harvest. Suddenly, boom, there was a loud bang. Like a thunderbolt from the blue, it resounded suddenly. Next to, in the sky, the clouds are rapidly receding. It was originally a clear blue, but it was torn like a curtain in vain. Stab. There was a harsh tearing sound. It was so terrifying that it seemed to be able to cause cardiac arrest. This sudden change naturally shocked Hisagi Shuhei and the 6th generation students around him. What's the situation? The sky is so beautiful, it suddenly shattered. Suppressing heart palpitations and terror. When Hisagi Shuhei raised his head with great difficulty and looked towards the sky. Just glanced at it. The pupils filled with horrified expressions widened to the maximum in an instant. His complexion also changed from the original high-spirited spirit to pale in an instant. This is, how can it be, the Manos Grande that has always existed only in legends? Why did you suddenly parachute into the present world? What happened? Hisagi Shuhei's voice became trembling. The scene that was happening in front of him scared his spine into cold sweat. Even his feet couldn't help shaking. At this time, within the line of sight of Hisagi Shuhei, a torn dome, a huge black passageway with an invisible end, exuding a deadly atmosphere. Impressively eroding the surrounding blue sky and white clouds. What makes people feel scalp numb is, in the dark rift, there are huge lich-like monsters with black body and white face. Move your body constantly. Slowly poke your head out of the darkness towards the present world. Manos Grande Jillian. Evolution is born from the fusion of more than 100 extremely hungry virtuals. In general, Manos Grande will only appear in Hueco Mundo, and will not come to Hueco Mundo at will. Once there, even the Shinigami stationed in the present world. They are also very difficult to deal with. Not to mention the 6th generation students who have only heard of Manos Grande in textbooks. Therefore, after seeing so many Manos Grande Jillian, except for Hisagi Shuhei, who was barely able to maintain his sanity. Others have long been scared of short-circuiting the brain. His body trembled, his limbs were weak, and he collapsed to the ground in an instant. Hateful. Why did it become like this? Vice Captain Matsumoto, and people from the Technical Development Bureau, what are they doing? We are participating in the internship, not coming to the garden to die. Hisagi Shuhei gritted his teeth, his words were full of resentment and despair. In his childhood, when traveling with friends, was also attacked by Manos Grande in Rukongai. Then, fortunately, Muguruma Kensai came to the rescue just in time. Only Hisagi Shuhei escaped from the dead, and luckily got his life back. Many years have passed, in the same predicament again. But this time Hisagi Shuhei can only rely on his own strength. ZO. Only a few seconds passed. Hisagi Shuhei immediately dispelled the idea of resistance. That is because, roar. Perhaps it is because of the outstanding spiritual power in the body. Although Hisagi Shuhei didn't exude breath deliberately. But, many Jillian, discovered its existence soon. Turning his head, looking down, the white mask with a long nose like a clown locked Hisagi Shuhei with greedy killing intent. Then, all move faster, walk out of the black cavity densely. Finally, boom, no less than a huge body of a high-rise building, it suddenly fell from the sky and plummeted to the ground. 1, 5, 10, 30. Every Manos Grande Jillian's airborne will burst into bursts of violent explosions. Not only did it crush the street in an instant, but it also ignited a burst of thick smoke. The dark smoke covered the sky. The air is instantly filled with the pungent smell of gunpowder smoke. Let the deep Hisagi Shuhei. While the visibility of the field of vision is reduced to the lowest, it is completely trapped in the encirclement of Manos Grande. Quote. This time it's all over. There are dozens of Manos Grande Jillian. Such a terrifying number. Only Captain Shinigami, who has lifted the restrictions, can turn the tide. Back to back with each other. The 6th generation students huddled together in despair. Because of their fear, their psychological defenses have already collapsed. They are constantly looking forward to a miracle in their minds. Hateful. It's obvious that there's such a big commotion. But why didn't Vice Captain Matsumoto come to rescue for so long? Could it be that at the assembly point, there is also a group of Manos Grande descending? Think here. Hisagi Shuhei can't help feeling the creeps. Just the airborne of a Manos Grande colony can be explained by sudden accident. Yeah, a large number of Manos Grande colonies are dropping in a row. That means, this carefully planned conspiracy. 2. Even smelling the breath of conspiracy. However, Hisagi Shuhei never had the chance to perceive this idea to others. Because, Sero, driven by the killing instinct. All the Manos Grande Jillian opened their mouths of the abyss at the same time, condensing a red flash that emitted dangerous fluctuations. Soul Society, Seraiti, farewell. I didn't expect, who is about to graduate, would die in this way. I really can't be reconciled. All thoughts in my heart are ashamed. Hisagi Shuhei closed his eyes in despair, waiting for death. At this time, unless a miracle happens. Otherwise, facing a large number of Manos Grande Jillian, the violent Sero blasted collectively. Everyone will be wiped out at the moment of flash explosion. Atto. At this most desperate moment. Suddenly, a familiar voice came to my ears. Hisagi Shuhei, are you alright? If you come later, you seem to have been killed. Obviously no longer hopeful, and half of his foot has already stepped into the gate of hell. After hearing this voice, Hisagi Shuhei's heart trembled violently. The emotion was extremely excited. This is Bai Chen. This moment, all the fear, the hopelessness deep inside. All because of this voice. It disappeared without a trace. When Hisagi Shuhei widened his eyes in surprise. Sure enough, in the crimson flash all over the sky. Seeing the back view of Bai Chen's 3.3 strong man standing in front of him alone like Optimus Prime. Bai Chen, you actually showed up. Hisagi Shuhei's eyes widened. When looking at Bai Chen's back, it seems to be looking at the savior. But, with the Sero light, it intensifies. Gradually occupy the entire sky. Hisagi Shuhei's mood also plummeted again. He looked at Bai Chen's back, and urgently reminded. Bai Chen, get out of the way. That's Sero from Manos Grande. Even if you are as strong as you will be seriously injured if you resist hard. However, in the face of Hisagi Shuhei's kind dissuasion, Bai Chen didn't turn his head, and replied calmly. It's just Manos Grande Jillian. No matter how many Sero there are, it will be useless in the face of absolute suppression. My Zanpakutō wooden dragon, easy to wipe them all out. The tone is calm, confident and calm. Bai Chen just said that, without deliberately raising the volume. As if in his eyes, dealing with the Manos Grande colony is just as easy as eating and drinking. Hear Bai Chen's words. Hisagi Shuhei remained silent, his pupils flickering violently. If it were someone else, he must think that the other party is talking nonsense. But the person who said these words was Bai Chen's words. Not only does Hisagi Shuhei not have the slightest doubt. It also gives you a great sense of security. Then, facing the crimson Sero light all over the sky. Bai Chen stretched out his hand calmly, and pulled it out from the scabbard Vice Admiral Zanpakutō. At the same time, the liberating words of Zanpakutō sounded. The tree that soars to the sky. The soil that shakes the earth. The wild wind of nature. The forest that moves the clouds. Let's release the power of nature, Sleepy. Chapter 56 Chaos in Hell. The Sky of Blood Mist. Advertise here. The tree that soars to the sky. The soil that shakes the earth. The wild wind of nature. The forest that moves the clouds. Unleash the power of nature, Wood Dragon. Hold the knife with one hand. The momentum exploded. Bai Chen's voice is resounding. It directly surpassed the roar of dozens of Sero rounds. It was extremely powerful and shocked the audience. This is Zanpakutō's real name Liberation. Dazed and stunned in place. In the eyes of Hisagi Shuhei, the light of hope once again condensed. Do not know why. The moment when you hear the Zanpakutō liberation language. He clearly felt that the spirit body was almost on the verge of collapse because of fear and despair. In an instant, be full of vigor and vitality again. It's as if Bai Chen's Zanpakutō, even though it's just a prelude to liberation, still exudes a powerful essence of life. In just a moment, everything around you can be reborn. This is too amazing. What kind of powerful power is it that can cause such a large-scale impact? Immerse yourself in this subtle feeling. Hisagi Shuhei had a shocked expression on his face, feeling extremely shocked, and at the same time full of anticipation in his heart. Intuition tells him, once the process of real name liberation is over, the surrounding Manos Grande community will be wiped out in an instant. Really? Hisagi Shuhei's hunch was right. What happened next was even more shocking than he expected. Boom. The green light burst out in the sky. The emerald green light, like an inexhaustible source of life, floats and spreads thickly and densely. At the same time, among the flying green spirits, the Zanpakutō in Bai Chen's hand, after releasing the power of all things, also transformed into a thorn blade. Brush. Bai Chen holds Zanpakutō, lightly waved sideways. The extremely sharp blade of thorns cut the air, leaving a green cut mark in midair. This moment, deadly oppression brought by nearly 100 Sero. It was also easily dispelled by the aura of the Zanpakutō wooden dragon. It's just swinging a knife. It's so easy to reverse the momentum. 13. Bai Chen's Zanpakutō is too strong. When he saw Bai Chen swinging a knife, the crimson flashes all over the sky were visibly dimmed for a long time. Hisagi Shuhei's heart is extremely shocking. Looking at Zanpakutō, wood dragon, the eyes are full of disbelief. To know, this is just an ordinary knife swinging action. Bai Chen didn't release any skills. But even so, still immediately reverse the momentum. It can be seen how powerful the power of the Zanpakutō wooden dragon is. It is definitely not the level of Manos Grande Jillian who can easily touch porcelain. But, the name, wooden dragon, and the vast essence of life just now are really rare. Is this a wooden Zanpakutō? But before this, I've never heard of it. Among Gote 13, whose Zanpakutō belongs to this category? Hisagi Shuhei frowned. In his usual cognition, the categories of Zanpakutō, even his Zanpakutō, wind death, are nothing more than the usual categories. Wind system, ray system, hot type, frozen system. As well as the Department of Physics, Department of Kido, etc. Only the so-called Zanpakutō of the wooden family has never been heard before. And, out of the consistent cognition of the land and forest, Hisagi Shuhei also does not think that the combat power of the wooden Zanpakutō will be compared to other types of Zanpakutō. Instead, it is more inclined to assist the role, rather than having a strong attack power. Therefore, even if I feel deeply at this time, Zanpakutō wooden dragon's strong potential, as well as the undoubted absolute trust in Bai Chen's strength. Hisagi repaired the depths of his heart, but still couldn't help putting a question mark on it. He is curious. Light as Shikai with Zanpakutō wooden dragon. Can Bai Chen really turn the tide and instantly kill Manos Grande whose number is nearly over 100? At the same time, in the underground base of the 5th Division. At this time, the accident that happened in Karakura Town is being played simultaneously by the monitoring equipment here in real time. On the nick of time, the hero Bai Chen enters and liberates Zanpakutō in this scene. Naturally, the Aizen trio in front of the monitoring screen saw it. Yeah, Captain Aizen, your plan really succeeded. Use the Manos Grande colony to launch a surprise attack on the 6th generation. So as to lure Bai Chen out and force him to liberate Zanpakutō. All the current progress is under your control. Ichimaru Jin said with a smile. At the same time, he looked at one of the monitoring screens. Bai Chen's back was reflected in the slightly opened eyelids. Silver, have you found it? Lenses of black frame glasses. It also reflects the figure of Bai Chen holding a knife in one hand. Although Aizen's facial expression, as usual, is indifferent, his voice is obviously full of interest. Just a moment of liberation. The aura released from Zanpakutō easily crushed hundreds of Manos Grande. It also shows that this brand new Zanpakutō has at least an attack power above the Ajuka's level. From the perspective of observation and examination. Just play through the video screen. Aizen gave Zanpakutō, wooden dragon, a very high evaluation. Oh, Captain Aizen, you mean, all Jillians will be instantly killed later. And only Arrancars at the Ajuka's level is eligible to touch Bai Chen. Ichimaru Jin's eyes flashed slightly. Arrancars of Ajuka's is at least at the rank of subordinate officer. Further up is the Espada. That is to say, in Aizen's eyes, normal Manos Grande is all cannon fodder. Just a bait for Bai Chen's liberation. The real backhand is still hidden behind. Otherwise, why did I deliberately order you to tear apart the black cavity and parachute out of the Manos Grande colony at the assembly point? Aizen asked blankly. I see. You have already considered the relationship between Bai Chen and Matsumoto Rangaku, so you plan to create a deeper crisis from the latter. To further test Bai Chen's combat power, Ichimaru Jin grinned slightly. Gradually shift his gaze, and set his gaze on the other and the monitoring screen. With a playful look on his face, he guessed. If I'm not mistaken, Arrancars at the subordinate level will come soon. It's not even possible to have only one. Then in the case of Reiatsu Limited, even if Matsumoto Rangaku is an adjutant, he will be besieged by Arrancars. And when the communication signal is blocked by us, the only possibility for her to survive. It's Bai Chen's rescue. Between a few words, said Aizen's conspiracy and plan. The playful arc of Ichimaru Jin's mouth deepened. Although Matsumoto Rangaku and he are childhood sweethearts. Because of their childhood experiences, the two have a deep friendship. But at this moment, when facing Aizen, Ichimaru Jin still showed indifference. Totally treat Matsumoto Rangaku as an outsider who can be sacrificed at any time. Master Aizen, even though the fight has already happened. Then do we need to go to the present world immediately to observe and detect at close range? At this time, behind Aizen, Tusen Kanami, the blind man who had been silent before. Wei bowed, and suggested respectfully. However, his proposal was immediately rejected. Aizen shook his head, looked at the monitoring screen, and said indifferently. Yes, don't worry, it's not time yet, Bai Chen's Zanpakutō has just been liberated. Unless his Zanpakutō wooden dragon shows enough surprising power. Otherwise, we are not qualified to let us go there in person. The immediate meaning of these words is obvious. If Zanpakutō, wooden dragon, is not strong enough, Aizen will not be interested in continuing to observe. Otherwise, he will act immediately. No longer across the screen, but feel personally in the place. Return to Karakura Town, as Aizen and Ichimaru Jin said. Not just the area where Bai Chen is located. The place where the world transmitting gate originally appeared. It is also the meeting point after the soul burial practice. There are also nearly hundreds of Manos Grande Jillian airborne. And create a large area of destruction. Nagasawa, Asai, Fakata, how is it? Have you contacted the Technology Development Bureau? The numbers of Manos Grande are growing. We are all under siege. Now it's completely impossible to escape. At this time, Matsumoto Rangaku holding Zanpakutō Heineka in hand. Under the long golden wavy hair, there is an anxious face. Even when speaking, you have to grit your teeth desperately to ensure that your voice will not tremble. However, Matsumoto Rangaku had just finished speaking. Immediately, she got a terrified reply that made her unable to bear the despair. Vice Captain Matsumoto, we have done our best. But no matter how you send out the signal, the moment the communication device starts to transmit, it will be intercepted immediately. I'm afraid the monitoring system of the entire Karakura town has been blocked and tampered with right now. The members of the 10th squad behind them responded tremblingly. Even though there are several of them, all are officially Shinigami. And at this time, Matsumoto Rangaku, the vice captain, was by his side. Yeah, the face is constantly gathering from all around. And because of its huge size, Dwei Jiang gradually obscures the sky. All courage is gone at this moment. Instead, it is the despair and fear that I have never experienced in the past few months of stationing in this world. Hateful. The contact signal was forcibly blocked. This shouldn't be as simple as a coincidence. Who the hell? He was able to deceive the Technology Development Bureau and lay out this well-planned conspiracy. Matsumoto Rangaku gritted his teeth. She is smart, the first time, not to suspect that there is an insider in the Technology Development Bureau. Instead, he put his doubts on other people. Because, according to Matsumoto Rangaku's knowledge of Kuretsuchi Mayuri, this crazy scientist with super brain power and weird personality. Usually, although he often does all kinds of arrogant and weird behaviors. But, Kuretsuchi Mayuri has dedicated himself to Gotei 13 since taking over as the captain of the 12th Division. And continue to expand the staff size of the Technology Development Bureau. Bringing technology and change to the entire Soul Society. Matsumoto Rangaku doesn't think so. Kuretsuchi Mayuri has any motive for rebellion as well as necessity. Then who could it be? Among the Gotei 13, who has such a huge amount of energy to collude with Hueco Mundo's Manos Grande? When the thought proceeds to this step, before Matsumoto Rangaku had time to think. Suddenly, boom, the already fragmented sky. Amidst the deafening bang, a new pitch-black crack was torn open. Only this time, no more bulky and ugly Manos Grande Jillian. 2. Slightly larger than normal humans. But the whole body exudes a fierce aura, the two figures whose aura is obviously at another level. This is. Matsumoto Rangaku looked up, after looking at the two figures slowly walking out from the dark tunnel. He opened his mouth wide in shock, and couldn't help but scream out in horror. This is. Adjukas. And they all evolved into Arrancars at the same time. This moment, when the incomparably powerful momentum continuously oppressed from the sky. Matsumoto Rangaku just feels like the sky is spinning, as if even the sky is about to collapse. The other side, just elsewhere. 690. When there are various dynamic changes in the open and in the dark. In the area where Bai Chen is located, the battle is also going on with Marketing Chen. Hisagi Shuahei, listen well, after you finish eliminating these Manos Grande, you must lead people to find the other sixth reincarnation as soon as possible, and gather them all together. Ensure the safety of everyone's life. carrying people on their backs. Bai Chen reminded in a deep voice. Immediately afterwards, without waiting for the other party to respond, Bai Chen firmly grasped the handle of the knife, and at the same time, towards the inside of the Zanpakutō, wood dragon, swiftly poured Reiatsu. Twisted. Chaos from hell, angrily shouted. There was no movement from Bai Chen either. On the surface of Zanpakutō, wood dragon, a burst of incomparably terrifying green light that almost reached the point of substance erupted in an instant. Boom. The crushing spread of green light violence. With the majestic Reiatsu and energy contained in it. It's actually between the fire and light stones. The incoming Sero beams will penetrate head-on and forcefully destroy them at the same time. That's all. The Sero who once brought Hisagi Shuhei and many sixth-generation students infinite fear. It was actually easily resolved by Bai Chen in the simplest and rude way. Gulu. Watching all this happen, Hisagi Shuhei was dumbfounded, swallowing in horror. The shock in his heart at this moment. There are no words to describe it. However, and this is just the beginning. What happened next made Hisagi Shuhei realize even more that when he was evaluating Zanpakutō, Wooden Dragon, just now. How short-sighted it is to see and hear with one's own vision. Boom. With the majestic Reiatsu pouring down. Wherever it was shrouded in green light, all the land shook violently. The wide blocks of Karakura Town have torn countless ground fissures out of thin air. At the same time, lots of transmogrified by Reiatsu. In size and height, the thorny vines, which are larger than Manos Grande Jillian, rise violently from the earth's crust like a python. Then under the control of Bai Chen, they spiraled up at an extremely fast speed, and after reaching the same height as Manos Grande, they dragged their black bodies into a strangle. Strangled by thorns. Following Bai Chen's thought. Countless thorns and vines have already suppressed all the Manos Grande, and they are constantly squeezing and rolling in an instant. Finally, boom 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 boom. Like the sound of fireworks exploding, it sounded continuously. The Manos Grande community that originally blocked the sky. It also disappeared without a trace in an instant. At this time, in the shattered sky, because after Manos Grande was strangled, he exploded and died continuously. Causes the blueness of the sky, and the darkness of the black cavity. Everything was covered by a hazy mist of blood. And even more bloody. Towering above the huge thorny vines. Actually. There was a rain of blood out of thin air. And all the blood turned this area into a bloody hell in an instant. Chapter 57 1 against 2. Battle Arrancars subordinates. Advertise here. Tick tock, tick, tick tock. Among the blood mist floating in the sky. As the light shines, it reveals the blood that seeps into the blood, continuously flowing down the branches of the trees. Make this a bloody battlefield. There was a strange rain of blood out of thin air. It's like a real bloody hell. As the battle over, all the Manos Grande Jillian were wiped out in an instant. Are these giant trees rolling all over the sky really just the Shikai of Zanpakutō? I'm afraid the legendary Bankai may not be so strong. Look up at the sky. Endless blood was reflected in the eyes. At this moment, Hisagi Shuhei, and several other sixth-generation students. Everyone stared blankly in place. The same stunned expression on the face. Still immersed in the bloody case that happened just now. I haven't slowed down for a long time. Too exaggerated. Horrible. Existed only in the legendary Manos Grande Jillian. When the number is close to hundreds, and the group blasts Sero. EXXX. In just a few minutes. Because of being strangled by a giant thorn tree, it was instantly wiped out. Even if I saw it with my own eyes. And it was the evil Manos Grande who was obliterated. But the scene that happened just now. Because it is too bloody and brutal. It is still the shock and evil that brought Hisagi Shuhei and the sixth reincarnation directly to the depths of the soul. Not only does it make them feel unreal. And even subverted everyone's perception of Zanpakutō. Can the Shikai of Zanpakutō be so powerful? Hisagi Shuhei's eyes widened. He looked dumbfounded at the thorn blade in Bai Chen's hand. When feeling the inside of Zanpakutō, Wooden Dragon. After the vast and infinite powerful fluctuations that continuously emanated. Hisagi Shuhei felt extremely envious. At the same time, deep in my heart, I couldn't help but feel a huge sense of gap. Because, his Zanpakutō, Wind Death, Shikai is already possible now. And after, Wind Death, is liberated, it becomes a whirling blade sickle. It's the same as these huge blood-stained thorny vines in front of you. They also attack the enemy in the way of strangling and cutting. It's a pity. Other than that, it's barely the same. In other aspects, whether it is attack power, or ability characteristics, or the coverage of skills, there is absolutely no comparison between the two. Hisagi Shuhei even thinks that Tusen Kanami, the captain of the 9th Division, whom he admires. Blind man's Zanpakutō, Suzumushi. The power behind Bankai may not be as good as Shikai of Wooden Dragon. Without any exaggeration, Bai Chen is truly redefining what is Shikai, by virtue of his strength. Terribly sorry. It didn't scare you just now, did it? Bai Chen turned sideways, leaning back. At the same time, gently waved the blade of thorns, the bloodline on the blade. No. No. Bai Chen. Thanks to your timely rescue. Otherwise, we would have been bombarded and killed by Sero long ago. The sixth-generation students were in awe. The gaze towards Bai Chen was full of gratitude and admiration. Really from the heart, regard him as a savior. Hisagi Shuhei. Remember what I told you just now. Clean up your mood, and then set off immediately with people. As Manos Grande appears, the sixth-generation students in other positions must also fall into panic. You must reunite them as soon as possible. After exhorting again, Bai Chen then withdrew his gaze and looked into the distance. Look in the direction of the gathering place. Time is running out. There seems to be a group of Manos Grande arriving at the assembly point. I must rush there as soon as possible. Everyone, take care. Finished speaking. No one responded yet. No action was seen from Bai Chen either. The back of him holding the knife in one hand disappeared in an instant. Shunpo using ultimate left here. And with Zanpakutō, wooden dragon, stay away. Through its power, the forest trees created will continue to decompose and degrade. In the end, in the shocking eyes of everyone, retransform into pure green spirits until they dissipate in the air. Wood family Zanpakutō didn't expect it. A previously extremely rare category. Such a terrifying Zanpakutō was born. From now on, Bai Chen's Zanpakutō, Wood Dragon, is destined to be a sensation in the entire Soul Society. Looking at the direction Bai Chen left, Hisagi Shuhei muttered to himself with a complex expression. At the same time, the 5th Squadron's underground base. Tisk tisk tisk. Captain Aizen, Bai Chen did not disappoint us. The Wood Zanpakutō is really eye-opening, although the tone of the mouth is still light omen. However, the tone of Ichimaru Jin's speech was obviously a little more serious than before. Even if you watch it through the video screen. Even if he has been with Aizen for many years, he has already experienced various conspiracies and dark hollow experiments. But just now, Ichimaru Jin was still deeply shocked by the terrifying power of the wood-style secret technique, Hell Rebellion. Not only can it carry out super large-scale killing. And all the thorny trees are all made of Reiatsu. Bai Chen's Zanpakutō, Wooden Dragon, what a disaster. The blind Tusen Kanami said with a solemn expression. Although I can't see it, I can't see any specific picture. But through the monitoring equipment, the burst of super fluctuations and Ichimaru Jin's shocking reaction. Tusen Kanami in the dark world. It is also conceivable that the Manos Grande community was violently killed. Silver. You are right, Bai Chen's Zanpakutō, Wooden Dragon, has indeed brought too many surprises. This is a Zanpakutō with a Shikai comparable to a Bankai. And with an extremely high ceiling. Aizen pushed the black-rimmed glasses lightly, and a rare excited smile was drawn on the corner of his mouth. Not just because Bai Chen's Zanpakutō was detected. Anyway, because of the powerful power of the Wooden Dragon, Aizen feels the excitement that he hasn't seen for a long time. As a man who aspires to ascend to the throne of heaven. Today's Gotei 13. There are not many things that can really catch Aizen's eyes. Hard to say. There is only the Zanpakutō of the chief captain. The strongest, Ryujin Jaka, of the hot department. And the Hogyoku that he's been thinking about so much. And now, with the power of Zanpakutō, Wood Dragon, revealed. On this list, a brand new minister has been added. The most important is the power and violence of Wood-style mystery. It also opened Aizen's eyes and felt an extra surprise. Therefore, always indifferent, Aizen who doesn't take anyone seriously. Only then did I show the long-lost excitement and joy just now. So, Captain Aizen, the current you should not be able to restrain your emotions and continue to stay in this dark underground base, right? Ichimaru Jin asked with a smile. As the only person in this world who understands Aizen best. Ichimaru Jin has already guessed. Aizen's next plan. It must be to use the black cloak to go to the present world to observe secretly while shielding the monitoring signal. In this way, we can experience and record more realistically. Zanpakutō, Wooden Dragon, power and strength in battle. Really, Ichimaru Jin had just finished speaking. Without hesitation, Aizen responded in the affirmative. Silver, let's go right away. Now pass through the boundary gate, the time is just in time. Let's enjoy it next time. When the strength of the enemy increases, Bai Chen's wood element Zanpakutō. What kind of surprise will it bring? Finally, put the black cloak that can shield Reiatsu and hide his tracks, and cover Captain Haori with a black cloak. The figures of the Aizen trio walked towards the exit of the underground base against the dim light. Until it disappears completely. At the same time. The center of Karakura Town. The meeting place for soul burial practice. Shin. After a burst of violent metal collision sound. Matsumoto Rangaku's figure covered in the deadly tyrant's outfit flew upside down amidst the bursting sparks. Until the whole person blasted into the nearby roof. In an instant, a huge ground crack ruin was smashed out. While causing obvious damage, it also caused a wave of smoke and dust all over the ground. Oh, Vice Captain Shinigami, is this the only level? It's really rubbish. Words full of arrogance and disdain passed down from midair. There is a braid at the back of the head. The left eye and the top of the head are covered by a mask. The tall and slender Xiaolong Kufang put his hands in his pockets and stared down indifferently with downcast eyes. Although as a subordinate officer of Grimjiao. But he was deliberately chosen by Aizen to carry out this attack mission. led a large number of Jillians and invade Karakura Town in the real world. Only, it wasn't Xiaolong Kufang who fought Matsumoto Rangaku just now, but another companion who invaded with him. Also a subordinate officer of Arrancars. And considered one of the weakest Arrancars, D. Roy. That's right. Before I came to this world, I was a little worried that Shinigami would be difficult to deal with. Beneath the mutilated bonnet covered with a mass of bandages, D. Roy, who looked thin and small, grinned excitedly, looked at Matsumoto Rangaku who fell to the ground, and sneered coldly. The previous worries are completely unnecessary. Whether it's Shinigami or Captain Shinigami, they're trash without exception. It was so easy to be beaten in an instant. It's almost impossible to help but want to laugh. Compared with Xiaolong Kufang, De Roy was visibly less calm. Instead, taking advantage of the current advantage, he continued to ridicule to the end. It seems that he wants to pass him, and the ridicule he received in the Arrancars army is doubled on Shinigami. While facing the verbal taunts of Arrancars' subordinate officers, Matsumoto Rangaku, who has been Shikai for a long time, enduring the pain in his limbs, he clenched his teeth and struggled to get up, his eyes full of unwillingness. Hateful, due to the inability to communicate with the Technology Development Bureau. So it's almost impossible to remove the limited mark on your body. Have you really reached a desperate situation? Gritting his teeth slightly, Matsumoto Rangaku has a stubborn expression. With a bold and optimistic personality, she is not a person who gives up lightly. Specially limited to Reiatsu. Only 1/5 of the original strength can be exerted. Rely on tenacious willpower alone. Not enough to sustain Matsumoto Rangaku. Defeat these two Arrancars subordinate officers in front of you with your own power. The unknown Shinigami Vice Captain. From your eyes, I feel helpless and panic. Since this is the case, there is no need to continue this one-sided battle. He reached out and touched his waist. Pull out the Zanpakutō sharply. Xiaolong Kufang's eyes flashed, and murderous aura surged in his eyes. Next, die with regret. You should be hating on being the Shinigami Vice Captain. The voice fell. Take advantage of the extremely fast ring rotation. The figure of Xiaolong Kufang, flashing condescendingly, brandished Zanpakutō and attacked Matsumoto Rangaku. 17. The speed is too fast. There is no time to react. Because I was injured just now. So Matsumoto Rangaku's reflexes dropped significantly. Even if she wanted to use the smoke of Hineka to block it. But it was too late. Go to hell, Shinigami. Not just Xiaolong Kufang. D. Roy also raided on the other side. The ferocious smile on the corner of his mouth seems to have foreseen the next death of Matsumoto Rangaku. However, just when the Arrancars are about to succeed. The tip of Zanpakutō was suddenly blocked by some kind of shield just one step away from Matsumoto Rangaku. At the same time, not far away, there was a shout. Shield, wooden ingot wall. Chapter 58 The Wooden Dragon That Shakes the World. Arrancars' First Kill. Advertise here. Go to hell, Shinigami. Xiaolong Kufang's killing intent was awe-inspiring. He jumped in front of Matsumoto Rangaku with a ringing spin. The extremely sharp Zanpakutō in your hand. Also within the latter's line of sight, it suddenly keeps zooming in. In order to completely seal off Matsumoto Rangaku's escape route. D. Roy grinned grimly too, and launched a surprise attack from the side. A positive. One side. The point of Zanpakutō's knife only needs to be advanced a few points, and it will be brutally chopped down on Matsumoto Rangaku. But at this moment, shield, wooden ingot wall. Without warning, there was a sudden shout from the distant horizon. Next second, in front of Matsumoto Rangaku. The originally empty air, as if performing a magic trick, a row of hard and thick circular wooden pillars unexpectedly appeared out of thin air. Quote ? What's the situation? Rows of wood. Is this the so-called Kido? Sudden misfortune. Suddenly Xiaolong Kufang's expression became stiff in vain. But I haven't waited for him to react. The wooden pillars were quickly bent and stacked, forming a huge wooden buttress. And with incomparable precision, it covers Matsumoto Rangaku inside, providing absolute protection in all directions without dead ends. At the same time, it instantly blocked the slashing from two different directions. When the blade of Zanpakutō cut down fiercely. However, except for the heavy hitting sound, it can only leave shallow white cut marks on the surface of the wooden ingot wall. How can this be? In the face of my full blow, these logs are still not moving at all. Xiaolong Kufang's expression was extremely embarrassing. There is no longer a little bit of calm, but an unspeakable horror. That's because 517 is. What made him feel unacceptable was not just the failure of the slash. He was easily blocked by the wood. But due to the rebound force of the wood ingot wall surface. After the power of the slash was exhausted, Zanpakutō was bounced away by this strange force. If it wasn't for Xiaolong Kufang's quick response. I'm afraid that at this moment, the Zanpakutō in his hand has already been released. Look over there. There is still a Shinigami who slipped through the net. No. Not Shinigami. This guy is wearing a white uniform. But why is he holding a Zanpakutō in the shape of a thorn in his hand? When Xiaolong Kufang was still in a state of shock and uncertainty. D. Roy jerked his head away. Look at the source of the shouting just now. But was horrified to find. I don't know when. The figure of Bai Chen appeared quietly. There was a playful smile on Jun Lang's face, as if a hunter was looking for his prey. Eye to eye with D. Roy. Great, it's Bai Chen. I knew it. You will definitely stand up when you are in a desperate situation. Turn the tide by yourself. Through the wood trace gap on the surface of the wood ingot wall. When I saw Bai Chen, whom I was thinking of, appeared in front of me again. This moment, deep inside Matsumoto Rangaku, all the negative emotions will disappear in an instant. All that is left is the joy of the rest of my life. And absolute trust in Bai Chen. Fine. Wood-style secret technique. Dot can be cast from a long distance and in an instant. Otherwise, if you come one step too late, Rangaku will be injured. His eyes glanced around. After confirming the injuries on Matsumoto Rangaku's body, only minor skin trauma. Bai Chen temporarily stopped caring about her. And fixed his eyes on the two Arrancars subordinates respectively. D. Roy, Xiaolong Kufang. Aren't the two of them Grimjiao's subordinate officers? How dare they invade the world rashly? Couldn't it be Grimjiao who took the lead? Such thoughts flashed through my mind. In order to avoid another accident, Bai Chen was quite cautious, and deliberately carried out Reiatsu perception. Until it is confirmed that it is within a few kilometers of the vicinity. No longer hides the breath of other Arrancars. The corner of the mouth raised a playful arc again. Since Grimjiao isn't here, then there is no doubt that Aizen is behind this sudden attack, right? If I'm not mistaken, the Aizen trio at this moment. Either you are secretly peeping in the fifth team. Or use the black cloak to hide nearby and watch the battle. As a traverser, Bai Chen still knows enough about Aizen, an old female figure. And the two behaviors just mentioned. It is also the most commonly used method of Aizen, and also the most likely method. But, even knowing the Aizen trio, it is very likely that it is hidden nearby at this time. Bai Chen didn't care, and he didn't intend to take precautions, but just ignored them as air. At the moment, what needs the most focus? Just kill the two Arrancar subordinate officers in front of you. And there are countless Manos Grande Jillian gathered around. Only by killing them can it be regarded as a successful rescue. Completely resolve this, Manos Grande invasion, accident. At the same time, just when Bai Chen was thinking, Xiaolong Kufang and D. Roy looked at each other. While quietly approaching Bai Chen, orderly distributed on his left and right sides. It's still the same tactic as before. It's just that the distance is slightly longer because of Bai Chen's power. A flanking attack, a wise move. Bai Chen's eyes were calm, he looked at the two Arrancar subordinates, and instead persuaded. But, I still advise you to, return to the sword as soon as possible. Otherwise, I won't have another chance later. The tone couldn't be calmer. It's like the last words of death initiated by the weak. And Bai Chen's words are full of hatred. At the same time, the expressions of the two Arrancar subordinate officers suddenly changed again. What? Did you hear me right just now? BDCH, you even know, return to the blade. How on earth did you pry into our Arrancar's secrets? Xiaolong Kufang could no longer restrain his emotions. The face under the long hat-shaped mask showed bruises for a moment, and its expression became ferocious and terrifying. Looking at Bai Chen's eyes, there is an endless murderous look. Also anxious. Yes, Xiaolong Kufang panicked. Whether it is the wooden series Zanpakutō in Bai Chen's hand. Or Bai Chen inadvertently revealing his in-depth understanding of Arrancar. It made Xiaolong Kufang feel creepy. And subconsciously suspect whether this invasion is a trap. Otherwise, how to explain the series of events that happened just now? And nothing else. Just the white courtyard uniform on Bai Chen's body. It already made Xiaolong Kufang feel very strange. He wouldn't be foolish to think. Bai Chen will be like other sixth-generation students, easily shattered at the touch of one touch. Surprised. Take the opponent's reaction to break the defense in your eyes. Bai Chen grinned at the corner of his mouth, pretending to be regretful, and said in a cold voice. But just now, I have given you a chance. Since you don't want to return to the blade, let's become the nourishment of the wooden dragon together with all the Jillians. The moment the voice fell. Forest. Riot. Following Bai Chen's thought. That blade of thorns in your hand. In an instant, a burst of extremely dazzling green light burst out. Boom. The immense Reiatsu blast. It's like a tornado naturally formed in the forest. Carrying a terrifying and destructive power. As the green light passes all the way, it goes towards the violent crushing around it. Instantly. When rescuing Hisagi Shuhei just now. What happened in that piece of land once again happened again. Bang 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 bang. Neighborhoods of Karakura Town. After the violent shaking, countless cracks in the ground were pressured, and towering trees sprang up from them. In an instant, a vast forest covering the sky and the sun was formed. This is, what ability? Tear apart the earth and create forests. What is he going to do? In order to avoid being above the branches of the big tree. Those sticks and vines with sharp spikes to impale. The two Arrancar subordinates frantically evaded. Steel-skinned body, constantly running around in a panic. But he still failed to escape from the coverage of this forest. He was completely lost in the towering trees. How about Arrancars? These green scenes have never been seen in Hueco Mundo before. Bai Chen raised his hand. On the one hand, he fell the blade of thorns in front of him with one hand. You who are about to be turned into nutrients will be buried here forever. Reduced to the most inconspicuous soil and dust. This time, Bai Chen's tone was no longer calm, but with a strong killing intent. He doesn't intend to waste time fighting back and forth with the Arrancars. But as always, an instant kill. Take off. Wooden dragon. Drinking sounded. Reiatsu full release. The earth trembled, the trees shook, and the smoke and dust swept across. Boom. Under the dead silent eyes of the two Arrancars subordinate officers. In the torn ground below. During the rapid movement of the soil, huge trees gathered and formed. Finally, it has appeared in the soul space before. That gigantic wooden dragon that shook the sky and roared into the sky once again took off. Come down to Karakura Town with a destructive attitude. Roar. The wooden dragon roared. The roar is like a mighty one. The huge wooden body is winding and hovering above the forest. Substantial terror oppression exudes. In the sky of Karakura Town, all the clouds quickly receded. It seems that it can't bear the soaring power of the wooden dragon. Arrancars, it's over. Be swallowed by the wooden dragon and become part of the power of Zanpakutō, wooden dragon. Bai Chen raised his hand. With the blade of thorns in his hand, he pointed at the two Arrancars subordinate officers in the air. The next moment, by Bai Chen's order, the huge wooden dragon, brandishing its sharp claws, roared and flew towards the two Arrancars subordinates. It's as if they're about to devour them. Chapter 59 Loot Reiatsu. Wood Dragon's new ability. Advertise here. Wooden Family Zanpakutō. A gigantic wooden dragon flying in the sky. A guy who isn't even a Shinigami, why is his Zanpakutō so powerful? When I saw a huge wooden dragon flying towards this side, with its teeth and claws open. The wooden dragon's body is too huge. And the terrifying oppression that emanates from it. Instantly freaked out D. Roy. Arrancars, who not so long ago boasted of defying Shinigami during the siege of Matsumoto Rangaku. 04. When facing the wooden dragon that makes the clouds recede. The thin steel-skinned body couldn't stop trembling, and the pale complexion was filled with fear. He never thought of it anyway. Bai Chen doesn't make sense at all, every shot is a big move. Directly use the wood-style secret technique to summon a wooden dragon that connects the sky and the earth. Face off against the legendary flying dragon. How can he fight like this? Hateful. Trap. This is clearly a deadly situation. Aizen and Ichimaru Jin, these two bastards. They deliberately concealed the fact that there is a captain-level combat power among the interns. When the terrifying oppression that makes the atmosphere roar. Accompanied by the soaring of the wooden dragon, double the oncoming attack time. Xiaolong Kufang's last line of defense also completely collapsed. The suddenly shrunk pupils were filled with ferocious bloodshot eyes. In my heart, I am more concerned with the old pair of Aizen and Ichimaru Jin. Cursing non-stop, it was agreed to be a crushing game of harvesting heads. Unexpectedly, the real clown is actually himself. Until this moment, Xiaolong Kufang finally understood. Why did Bai Chen kindly persuade them to return to the original at the beginning of the meeting? Turn out to be persuasion. It is true. Spike is also true. It's a pity that it's too late to regret now. Even within a limited time, Long Kufang returned to the blade immediately. Turned into a trapped body in the stone hammer. Mere reptiles. How can it match the flying wooden dragon? In the end, it will be swallowed in one bite. Just like Bai Chen prophesied at the beginning, become the fertilizer that nourishes the forest. And at this time, Matsumoto Rangaku protected by wooden ingot wall. He also saw the shocking scene in front of his eyes. So amazing. Is this really just Shikai? This level of power is even stronger than the Bankai of many captains. Through the gaps between the wooden posts. Look up at the gigantic wooden dragon that nearly splits the sky in two. Matsumoto Rangaku's beautiful eyes are full of splendor. Covering his mouth in surprise, he sighed from the bottom of his heart. She didn't deliberately exaggerate, nor was it because of Bai Chen. And deliberately exaggerate the combat power of the wooden Zanpakutō. Matsumoto Rangaku really thinks, the power of Zanpakutō, wooden dragon. It is indeed above the Zanpakutō of many Shinigami captains. At least in her opinion. Byakuya Kuchiki, Komamura Sajin, Tusen Kanami, etc. Zanpakutō of several of them. And the Bankai of Zanpakutō. Obviously not as strong as the Zanpakutō, wooden dragon, has shown. If nothing else, the next battle should end without any suspense. The surrounding Manos Grande Jillian gradually retreated and fled. In addition to sighing at Bai Chen's powerful strength, Matsumoto Rangaku was also pleasantly surprised to find that the surrounding Manos Grande who were originally surrounded and besieged were chilly. Maybe it can't bear the oppression brought by the huge wooden dragon. Out of an instinctive fear of death, desperately moving his clumsy body, he fled towards the periphery slowly. This also turned the original siege into a mass escape in an instant. The most important is, with the collapse of the Manos Grande pack, Matsumoto Rangaku and the 6th generation students, who originally experienced a narrow escape, survived the crisis without any danger. And the reason why heaven-defying changed my life. Because of Bai Chen and his Zanpakutō, wooden dragon. At the same time, just in this brief gap, when death is close at hand, even knowing that there is little hope. Naturally, the two Arrancars subordinates were unwilling to sit still, but returned to the sword one after another. Eat it, sandworm. Cut it off. Five-claw worm. Reiatsu of the inner seal of Zanpakutō. Accompanied by the sword, the liberation language burst out in an instant. 2. Just for a moment, the light and momentum that should have been released, after being oppressed from the sky, unexpectedly, was firmly suppressed, making returning edges directly forced to interrupt. Quote question mark exclamation mark quote. What happened? Why is the sword liberation forcibly interrupted? And I clearly feel that the Reiatsu that was originally sealed in Zanpakutō has not returned to the body. On the contrary, it is a strange intensification and passing away. It seems to be forcibly plundered by some force. This moment, after discovering this horrible fact, every syllable of Xiaolong Kufang reveals deep despair. And the last trace of fighting spirit left, also disappeared at this moment. Panic, helpless, regret, as Arrancarized Jukas finally descended from the Hueco Mundo. With Xiaolong Kufang's strength, he was the first to be Arrancar, although he did not rank among the Espada. But in terms of combat power, look at the entire Arrancar regiment. Xiaolong Kufang is definitely the mainstay. However, Xiaolong Kufang never thought of it anyway. It doesn't matter if the momentum is crushed. Even returning blade is banned. Faced with this weird situation that cannot be explained by common sense, he had only one thought at the moment. #BT. Desperately waiting to die. Arrancar, don't be surprised. I forgot to tell you just now. Just when Xiaolong Kufang lost all hope, Bai Chen's next words were even more murderous. TT. It's not just about being huge. It's as simple as being amazingly destructive. Wherever it leaps over, it can continuously absorb energy along the way. So just get targeted by the wood dragon. No one's Reiatsu will be immune. When Bai Chen finished speaking, the wooden dragon has swooped in front of the two Arrancar subordinates. Roar. Devour. Swallow it straight into your stomach. That's all. D. Roy and Sharon Coupon didn't even have time to say the last words. He directly took Zanpakutō with him, and became a part of the wooden dragon without any suspense. And this battle of 1 against 2. In the end, it also ended perfectly with Bai Chen's absolute crushing. It's over. Sure enough, the characteristics of the wood dragon, in addition to suppressing the opponent, it can also absorb the enemy's Reiatsu. This ability is exactly the same as in the ninja world period. Following the figures of the two Arrancar subordinate officers, they completely disappeared from the field of vision. Bai Chen grinned slightly, grinning a satisfied smile. At this time, inside the hovering wooden dragon, Bai Chen obviously felt it, after devouring the two Arrancars. The power of the wooden dragon has increased significantly. Although from the looks of it, there are no obvious changes for the time being. But, this feeling of becoming stronger is very obvious. By connecting with the soul of Zanpakutō, it is directly fed back to Bai Chen's side. In other words, that is, together with Bai Chen's power, it has also been improved to a certain extent, it seems. In the future, in the battle with the enemy, you can use the same method to repeat the trick. While finally defeating the opponent, it is also possible to absorb the opponent's Reiatsu. Think here. Bai Chen's eyes became hot. To a certain extent, this can be regarded as an open-type way to become stronger. In the days to come, as long as there are enough opponents, and the strength is strong enough. So, however, they were entangled by wooden dragons. The Reiatsu in the body is bound to be absorbed and absorbed. And as the master of Zanpakutō, Bai Chen can also keep getting stronger in this way. Simply kill 2 birds with 1 stone. At the same time, what Bai Chen didn't know was, when he was still immersed in it, he accidentally discovered the characteristics of the wooden dragon's ability. So secretly happy when asked for flowers. The sky not far away. Somewhere in the seemingly empty air, covered under a black cloak, the trio of Aizen who came to the present world through the world transmitting gate long ago. At this time, they are talking about the battle that just ended. Yeah, I didn't expect that. That huge wooden dragon swallowed 2 Arrancars in such a brutal breath. Captain Aizen, fortunately, you are by my side, otherwise it would be quite scary. The familiar Kyoto accent sounded. Ichimaru Jin, as always, deliberately played weak with weird emphasis. Obviously, he wasn't really afraid of the wood dragon. It's just nonsense. But, for the hypocrisy of Ichimaru Jin, Aizen directly chose to ignore, but provoked the topic. Silver, have you noticed? The moment the wooden dragon dived and approached, the Reiatsu on D. Roy and Xiaolong Kufang's bodies obviously weakened rapidly. Obviously, their power is being plundered constantly at that moment. And this weird phenomenon is also one of the abilities of Zanpakutō, wooden dragon. Dark and deep pupils, staring at Bai Chen from afar. There was an inexplicable look in Aizen's eyes. When he looked at the thorn blade in Bai Chen's hand, his expression became very complicated. 0. Another surprise. At the same time, there is still a trace of fear. Yes, deliberately rushed to this world from the Soul Society. And hidden in the dark after a close observation. In addition to having a more intuitive understanding of Zanpakutō, wooden dragon. For this wooden Zanpakutō that has never been seen before. Standing in the perspective of the strong, Aizen has recognized its power. At the same time, I also felt the long-lost threat. So, Captain Aizen, what should we do next? With the death of the two Arrancars subordinates, the remaining Manos Grande Jillian must be wiped out immediately. This time, the plan obviously failed. Falling light purple bangs. Under the blowing of the breeze, it fluttered messily in front of the forehead. Ichimaru Jin squinted his eyes and continued to ask, deliberately fanning the flames. TLF. He didn't want it to end there. But want to keep doing things. However, Ichimaru Jin had just finished speaking. But he was immediately retorted by Aizen indifferently. Silver, you are wrong. This time, not only did the plan not fail, but it was an unexpected success. Black-rimmed glasses pushed upwards. Aizen's eyes became calm again. With a faint smile, he continued. D. Roy too. Xiaolong Kufang is also good. A mere two Arrancar subordinate officers, and also Grimjiao's subordinates. Even if they sacrificed, it doesn't matter. On the contrary, with the help of this accident, the power of the Zanpakutō wooden dragon was perfectly tested. Speaking of which, Aizen paused deliberately. Then the topic changed, and the words were filled with a little regret. The only pity is that it's just Shikai. It would be great if we could force Bai Chen Bankai out at once. Sorry though, but Aizen was just talking casually. He naturally knew that he wanted to force Zanpakutō, wooden dragon, Bankai in the middle of the battle. The opponent must be Espada. Not even just one Espada. If not, ordinary captain-level combat power. It is simply not enough to look at this wooden Zanpakutō. Tut tisk tisk, Captain Aizen, have you finally admitted that you were intentionally framing Xiaolong Kufang and the others? If Grimjiao knew, he wouldn't be able to help but be furious in the Palace of Void Night. While Ichimaru Jin was joking, the sight shifted to Bai Chen again. Squinting his eyes, he revealed a fox-like sly smile. But, what you said just now, to test out Bai Chen's Bankai, there are actually many ways. Like in the latest Hollow experiment. Using the soul of Shinigami as the basis, the humanoid transformation virtual created. Killing Machine, Zubaishin. Chapter 60 Welcome. Guy Spinner's Enrollment Ceremony. Advertise here. Void. If I remember correctly, it should be called this, right? Ichimaru Jin turned his head, looked at Tusen Kanami and asked. Among the three of them, Aizen dominates the Hollow experiment though. But the real execution and handling is Tusen Kanami. In the past, Tusen Kanami knew every Hollow experiment well. That's why Ichimaru Jin asked him on purpose. That's right. Bai is its name. Please give Bai enough respect. It is more than just a killing machine. Dark complexioned face, covered under the long black cloth. Tusen Kanami reminded deliberately in a solemn tone. People subconsciously think that, when he commented on Void, he was not discussing Manos Grande. Instead, you are reviewing a work of art. A perfect masterpiece that would make Tusen Kanami proud. Evidently the whole body is pitch black, but it is called Bai instead. It's really ironic. Aizen intervened in the conversation and said indifferently. Master Aizen, are you planning to release Bai now? Not as frivolous as Ichimaru Jin. When facing Aizen, Tusen Kanami showed sincerity and fear, and he had to be careful with every word he uttered. Afraid of saying anything wrong. This caused Aizen's dissatisfaction. No, there's no need to startle the snake. Aizen shook his head indifferently. He refused without hesitation. It's true that if you release the whiteness now, you can indeed entangle Bai Chen in a short time. 687. But it also exacerbates our exposure. There is no doubt that it is an extremely short-sighted behavior. Consider the hypocritical killing ability. In fact, Tusen Kanami's proposal is also reasonable. An enemy with captain-level combat power. Maybe it can really be forced, and more abilities of the Zanpakutō wooden dragon will be exposed. Yeah, Aizen can still tell the difference between a full meal and a full meal. As the villain behind the scenes. The man who secretly ruled the Soul Society for hundreds of years. Aizen is not going to lose his temper so easily. All right. Since Captain Aizen has already spoken, then we can only go home regretfully. Failed to fan the flames successfully. Ichimaru Jin shook his head pretending to be disappointed, then looked away and stopped paying attention to Bai Chen. Silver, let's go, the data has been collected. Next, go back to Seraiti and wait for the assembly command from the chief captain. Aizen predicted again. Tisk tisk tisk. A good, soul burial practice, but suddenly encountered Manos Grande invasion. Afterwards, when the old man found out, he would definitely be furious, wouldn't he? He raised his eyebrows slyly. Ichimaru Jin showed his trademark fox smile. He can already imagine it. The captain who has always hated deeply. On the regular assembly meeting about this sudden accident. In front of the captains. A scene of angry reprimand. No problem. No matter which angle you look at, the biggest responsibility for this accident will only be the 10th Squad and the Technology Development Bureau. With the power of Kyoka Suigetsu, they can't find anything suspicious at all. After putting down the indifferent words, Aizen set off first, and the figure wrapped in a black cloak merged with the air and disappeared completely. Ichimaru Jin, Tusen Kanami followed closely. And with the disappearance of the three of them, the signal shielding against Karakura Town finally returned to normal again. Soon after, White, thanks to you turning the tide this time, cleaned out Arrancars and all the Jillians in a very short time. Otherwise, it's unimaginable how many bloody accidents will happen. A gathering place full of desolation. In front of many sixth return students around. Matsumoto Rangaku, who had survived the catastrophe, couldn't restrain his excitement, and leapt directly onto Bai Chen. Wow, because the portion size of the pet bear is too big. He fell heavily on his body head-on. So even when clearing Manos Grande, the extremely powerful Bai Chen. This meeting is almost unstable. The body staggered and was almost thrown down. And this scene of intimacy. I also watched other people, and I was envious in my heart. Bai Chen has become a hero who saves the world. In the end, there was a big beauty who took the initiative to throw herself into her arms. Such an achievement. Such a brilliant record. What a high-spirited awe. I just did what I had to do. Gently soften each other's hair. Because of close hugs, Bai Chen could even smell the fragrant scent coming towards him. This is Matsumoto Rangaku's deodorant. But only those who are hugged by her have the chance to feel it carefully. White, your Zanpakutō wooden dragon. It's the Zanpakutō with the strongest attack power I've ever seen, second only to Ryujin Jaka. Calm your nerves. Matsumoto Rangaku reluctantly let go. But when looking down at the Zanpakutō, wooden dragon, that returned to its original state, her expression became excited again. Flashed through my mind, the mighty scene of the huge wooden dragon taking off. Yo, stand by shoulder with Ryujin Jaka. Rangaku, you think too highly of my Zanpakutō. If it is reported to the captain, I'm afraid it will cause his old man's displeasure. Listening to Matsumoto Rangaku's praise, Bai Chen joked. No, Bai Chen, you think too much. Just now, I finally got in touch with the Technology Development Bureau. A rescue team composed of the first team, the fourth team, the Secret Maneuver and the Technical Development Bureau. Already on the way to Karakura Town. It will arrive soon. Matsumoto Rangaku said solemnly. So, you also reported the details of the whole accident. Bai Chen then asked back. That's right. It also includes the details of your battle with Arrancars. This is the responsibility I have to carry out as the vice captain of the 10th Division. Matsumoto Rangaku nodded and said solemnly. All right. Bai Chen shrugged. Didn't say much. I can't deny it. After the news is sent back, the high-end combat power of Zanpakutō, Wood Dragon, will also be completely exposed. But it doesn't matter. Being clumsy is not Bai Chen's style. Since the strength is too strong to hide, then continue to shine in the future. In addition, Bai Chen, I need to remind you. Eyes on each other. Matsumoto Rangaku's face-to-face soft voice reminded. Because you have passed the soul burial practice. And the awakened Zanpakutō has the experience of fighting Manos Grande and Arrancars. So, the final graduation assessment should be skipped directly. Speaking of which, Matsumoto Rangaku's smile became bright. Putting his hands on Bai Chen's shoulders, he sincerely congratulated. So, congratulations, Bai Chen. Once Guy is back, come back to Soul Society. That means you're graduating straight away. You're officially a Shinigami. And what will be waiting for you next will be the grand welcome ceremony of the captain and all the captains. The implication of these words is obvious. With Bai Chen's current strength. With 1 against 2, kill 2 powerful Arrancars in seconds. And Zanpakutō, Wood Dragon, possesses the power to collapse the sky. Once Bai Chen successfully graduates, it will inevitably attract the looting of the captains. A future quasi-captain class Shinigami. No matter which team you join, it will bring a huge improvement. Grand entry ceremony. Bai Chen's eyes flickered. Unexpectedly, before I knew it, I finally ushered in graduation. But, thinking about the entrance ceremony. To meet the 13 Shinigami captains individually. Bai Chen's heart is still full of anticipation. That time. There will also be Zanpakutō wooden dragons. Once again, in front of the captains, the moment of showing great strength. Quickly, with the emergence of the World Crossing Gate. Rescue teams from Soul Society arrived in Karakura Town one after another. Clean up the battlefield and treat the wounded. Repair all the damage done to this world. And Bai Chen and the 6th generation students were also escorted all the way back to Soul Society. After half a day, a team house. The team room filled with the smell of logs. The captain sat quietly in front of the wooden case, although the old figure looked stooped, it exuded endless majesty. How is the investigation on this accident going? White brows, drooping down like wicker, the captain asked in a low voice. Report to the captain. Although Matsumoto Rangaku specifically emphasized that the communication signal was blocked, so she failed to send a rescue signal. However, Kuretsuchi Mayuri and the Technology Development Bureau refused to admit it, thinking that the monitoring situation at that time was normal. They are in the Soul Society, and have not detected any abnormal fluctuations. They have not received any rescue signals from the present world. At present, Kuretsuchi Mayuri has submitted all the data at that time to the hidden maneuver for review. Speak a long paragraph in one breath. As the adjutant of the first team, the Western old man Sparrow Chojiro reported the results of the subsequent processing in detail. Well, I see. The captain nodded, and said neutrally, since both sides insist on their opinions, let the secret maneuver continue to investigate until the truth of the matter is completely revealed. After simply making a statement, the captain no longer dwells on this matter too much. After all, there were no casualties. It's just that it has caused some damage to the present world. Does not pose any real threat to Gote 13. Therefore, with the character of the captain, naturally, I will not pursue it too much. The opposite of, as Matsumoto Rangaku predicted. Captain more interested, it is Bai Chen's Zanpakutō, Wooden Dragon, instead. Wooden Family Zanpakutō. Gote 13 has been established for thousands of years. This category of Zanpakutō is not without it. But basically there is no reputation. The few Zanpakutō are quite mediocre in terms of combat power and performance. The turbid eyes became clear. The captain recalled it in detail. Not in his huge memory bank. Find anything impressive related to Wooden Zanpakutō. Therefore, I am more and more curious about Zanpakutō, Wooden Dragon. Yes, according to Matsumoto Rangaku, and the collective elaboration of the 6th generation. Bai Chen's Zanpakutō, Shikai alone, can control the sky and the earth. He can even create a forest out of thin air. This wooden Zanpakutō seems to possess a powerful force of nature. Sparrow Chojiro said with a complicated expression. Dominate the sky. It's not easy to say. Looking at the entire Gote 13, there are thousands of Zanpakutō inside, and there are only a handful of people who can do it. And his Zanpakutō, Yan Ling Wan, is one of them though. But only when it's Bankai. Relying on the sky cover made up of 9 thunderbolts, it is possible to temporarily dominate the heavenly ministers. However, according to the information fed back from the present world, Zanpakutō, Wood Dragon, after being released, has a large range of attack power. It can also let the clouds recede. And it can violently tear the earth apart. It can even emit the source of life, change the landscape out of thin air and create a large forest. Think here. Sparrow Chojiro can't help feeling unreal. In his cognition, Zanpakutō who possesses such power over everything. In the past 2000 years, in the ancient and long history, there is only Ryujin Jaka. Bai Chen's wooden Zanpakutō, is it now comparable to Ryujin Jaka? This is too scary. Chojiro, I know what you're surprised about. To be honest, not only you, but I am also looking forward to it. The entry ceremony in 3 days. Hope Zanpakutō, Wooden Dragon, will not let me down. The captain lowered his eyes. Rarely took the initiative to express his opinion. Expressed strong expectations for Bai Chen's approval, and Wood Zanpakutō. Chapter 61 The Might of the Wooden Dragon. The Awe of Captain Shinigami. Advertise here. Time flies. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye. Early in the morning, after washing up, Bai Chen set off for the first team's team building. Yes, out of recognition and respect for Bai Chen. The captain specially set the entry ceremony for the first team. Of course, only Bai Chen has this treatment. Other graduates, unless they are outstanding geniuses, will not be summoned individually under normal circumstances. And after arriving at a team, what Bai Chen needs to do is to be in front of the chief and other captains. Liberate Zanpakutō, show your strength. Then there is a two-way choice with the captain. In the process of double selection, Shinigami captains can actively recruit. And Bai Chen also has the right to refuse, and choose the team he wants to play for. Quickly, after a long journey, Bai Chen finally arrived at the destination. But, to his surprise, the team members of the first team seem to have been waiting early. Arrange a grand welcome ceremony here in advance. Interesting. It seems that the battle that happened in Karakura Town has deepened the importance that the captain attaches to me. This kind of ceremony should be the first time in decades, right? Bai Chen raised his eyes and glanced around. Looking at the red carpet in the middle of the aisle, the flowers on both sides, and the enthusiastic smiles on the faces of the team members. Instantly felt like a big star. It seems to be attending a film festival, and a red carpet catwalk is about to take place. White. The captain and all the captains are all in place. Please follow me. The current 3 seats of the first team. Genshiro Okiya, who was full of gorgeous hair, came to Bai Chen to show his kindness. For this 13-year-old man. Of course Bai Chen knows it. In the original plot, when the Invisible Empire attacked the Soul Society for the first time, he was ordered by the captain to stay in the team building and act as the agent for the team affairs. It can be seen from this. Okiba Genshiro's peculiarity. He is almost one of the captain's most trusted confidants. And he appointed Genshiro Chongya to lead people to the door to greet him. This is further confirmed, how much the captain attaches importance to Bai Chen. Then, follow Chongya Yuan Shiro, all the way to the atrium of a team. As soon as Bai Chen stepped into it, he sensed it instantly. About 20 eyes focused on him from all directions. Obviously, the captains of the 13 squads, and their respective adjutants. Everyone has been waiting so long. So as soon as Bai Chen appeared, he immediately attracted everyone's attention. A lot of familiar faces. Stand at the entrance. Bai Chen responded with a smile one by one to the cast gazes. And in the process, I also saw many acquaintances. At this time, in the spacious and bright atrium, the captains of the 13 teams are arranged on both sides according to the serial number. The captain stands in front. The deputy captain stood guard behind him. As for the captain, he is stationed with a wooden stick, kicking at the top of the head. Behind him is the inseparable sparrow Chojiro. Bai Chen, you are here. The captain looked up, seeming vicissitudes of life. He stared directly at Bai Chen directly. Although his gaze was like a torch, he did not deliberately exude coercion. Apparently, a captain who cherishes talents. I don't want to put too much pressure on Bai Chen when we meet for the first time. Lest Bai Chen feel nervous and restrained. Meet the captain. Meet you, Captain Shinigami. Bai Chen nodded slightly. And there was no deliberate salute. Instead, he stood calmly. It's as if, even at this moment, they are being watched by the Shinigami captains. But Bai Chen's heart was not disturbed. Instead, look at Captain Shinigami with a normal heart. I didn't regard them as superior to others because of their status. Not bad. Bai Chen, you look stronger than before. No wonder they were able to turn the tide in the Karakura Town accident. Stop the invasion of Manos Grande by myself. A familiar hearty laugh slowly came out from under the hat. Hiraku Shunsui, who has a bold personality and has met before, was the first to say hello to Bai Chen. But it has not waited for Bai Chen to respond. In the queue on the left, the malicious Kyoto dialect sounded. Heh, brother Bai Chen, we meet again. About your record in Karakura Town, I'm very interested in hearing it. It's a pity that I wasn't there at the time, so I couldn't witness your demeanor with my own eyes. I don't know if it was for deliberate provocation. Or because of the consistent style. Ichimaru Jin yelled at Bai Chen with a foxy voice, intentionally eccentric. I also feel very sorry. If Captain Ichimaru was there at the time, then I wouldn't need to take the shot. As a Shinigami captain, I believe you will kill all the Manos Grande without hesitation. Bai Chen's smile remained unchanged. A calm response on the surface. Quote ? What's the meaning? Why does it sound like Bai Chen is deliberately sarcastic? Opposite. Bai Chen had just finished speaking. Shiba, who has the closest relationship with him, has a heart. He immediately frowned, and muttered to himself full of doubts. From the conversation just now, he vaguely smelled some gunpowder. But, doubtful thoughts, I haven't had time to study it in detail. It was immediately interrupted by the sound of the wooden stick hitting the ground. All right, enough gossip. The captain stood up, with his stick in his hands, and said in a deep voice. Let's start today's topic, about Bai Chen's team selection. The captain spoke. The audience is silent, there is no sound. Instantly to the point where a needle can be heard. After finishing, the captain raised his eyelids, looked at Bai Chen again, and reminded. Bai Chen, the next thing you need to do. It is Zanpakutō's Shikai in front of the captains. So that everyone can witness your strength with their own eyes. The reason why the captain made such a deliberate request. It's not to question Bai Chen's strength, but to block all voices of doubt. After all, the people present. More than half of the Shinigami captains. There was no prior contact with Bai Chen. For his various deeds, just listen to other people's turns and rumors. Therefore, want to prove your strength as quickly as possible. The easiest way is to Shikai in front of the Shinigami captains. Use absolute strength to win their respect and recognition. 2. Just when everyone was getting ready. Unexpectedly, Bai Chen made a request in reverse. Captain, and all the captains. In order to prevent accidental injury, and also to prevent the first team from suffering serious damage. I recommend everyone to perform Reiatsu release in advance. With Reiatsu, the captains, to resist together. The aura of the wooden dragon will also be effectively suppressed. Bai Chen spoke in a calm tone. I said something that made the Shinigami captains suspect that they heard it wrong. What? You heard me right. Bai Chen, is this a joke? Are more than 20 of us actually asked to join forces to release Reiatsu? Isn't it just Shikai? Why did you make such a big battle? What a load of nonsense. The current 11th team captain, Oni Yancheng Kenpachi, who has a vicious appearance and a rough personality, is the first to express his dissatisfaction. He frowned, an unhappy expression on his face. He glared at Bai Chen fiercely. I think Bai Chen's request just now is simply making trouble for no reason. And equally dissatisfied, and Kuretsuchi Mayuri, who was under investigation for 3 consecutive days because of the Karakura Town accident. Quote. A guy who isn't even a Shinigami. He's so brazen, thinking that his Zanpakutō Shikai can overwhelm all the Shinigami captains. Under the blue and white mask, Kuretsuchi Mayuri rolled his eyes with a sneer. With a slightly hoarse voice, he made no secret of his ridicule towards Bai Chen. Bai Chen, in front of us, deliberately putting on airs is not a plus. If you want to lose face, it's still too late to take back what you just said. Finished speaking, Kuretsuchi Mayuri snorted coldly. Then he turned his head arrogantly, unwilling to continue talking to Bai Chen. Want him to let go of the force and take the initiative to resist with Reiatsu outside. There are no doors. Kuretsuchi Mayuri would not do such a self-defeating thing. Not just the two of them. Except for Sui Feng, Shiba Yixin, Matsumoto Rangaku and a few others. Everyone else was completely indifferent. Didn't take Bai Chen's words seriously. 15b. Anyway, I have already warned in advance. If you get accidentally injured later, then you can't blame me. Reaction to the crowd. Bai Chen actually expected it a long time ago. After all, look at the whole Gotei 13, among all the Zanpakutō. Shikai alone is enough to scare the Shinigami captains. Only Ryujin Jaka. But, although questioned, this does not affect Bai Chen to continue to draw knives calmly. Lithium. Zanpakutō wooden dragon unsheathed. A green halo appeared on the sharp and smooth surface of the blade. Immediately afterwards, no sloppiness of any kind. Bai Chen held the hilt of the saber, directed towards the inside of the Zanpaku 270 Dao, pouring Reiatsu with all his might. Boom. With substantial Reiatsu, continuously injected into it. The surface of the Zanpakutō wooden dragon is also shining brightly. Also accompanied by the mighty liberation language sounded. The tree that soars to the sky. The soil that shakes the earth. The wild wind of nature. The forest that moves the clouds. Unleash the power of nature. Wooden dragon. Hold the knife with one hand. Bai Chen is full body. The momentum exploded. Next second. Boom. Transcendence Reiatsu. Instant explosion. Not only did it blast through the air instantly, even because it was too loud, a super-dimensional sound wave was formed, causing the air to vibrate and roar. Even when the sound waves soared into the sky. As a result, the clouds that were originally floating quickly receded towards the sides as if they were forcibly torn apart by someone with brute force. Not only that, a circle of substantial green Reiatsu blast. Centered on the Zanpakutō wooden dragon, it spreads violently like a turbulent ocean wave. Along the way, every brick and tile on the road in the atrium was shattered. There was a huge cloud of smoke hundreds of meters away. Boom. I haven't waited for the captains to react. In just a few seconds, their vision became blurred. The only one who can see clearly. Only the terrifying Reiatsu blast. And, looming from it, countless lightning roars. Besides, terrible oppression enough to take away the right to breathe. This moment, because of the momentum that Zanpakutō, wooden dragon, exudes at the moment of liberation. The entire team building, as if caught out of nowhere. Among the devastating natural disasters caused by the 15th category hurricane. When deep in it, when being continuously oppressed by the Reiatsu blast. The expressions of the Shinigami captains also underwent a fancy face change at the same time. It doesn't matter anymore, no longer indifferent. Shinigami captains, look horrified. 0133080113 Filu 143,150,120. And the adjutant behind him almost knelt on the ground. This is too scary. It's just an aura. It's actually comparable to a Bankai with wind attribute Zanpakutō. Captain Shinigami. Everyone was dumbfounded when looking at Zanpakutō, wood dragon, again through the raging Reiatsu blast. Everyone's eyes. They were all full of strong fear. VAJZ. When facing the strongest, the instinctive awe. Chapter 62 Choose Jashiro. The power of the target spirit king. Advertise here. The wind never stops. The clouds are receding. Be as translucent as emerald Reiatsu. After erupting from Bai Chen's body like a hurricane. Instantly, the atrium of the first team building. This is a place where more than 20 Shinigami captains sit together. Instantly became a mess. It was as if a natural disaster had erupted out of thin air. It is destroying unscrupulously like out of control. This is too exaggerated. It's obviously just a prelude to liberation, and it's even just a wave of anger. Surprisingly, it looks like a Bankai of Zanpakutō, the wind system. Unbelievable. In the chaotic atrium, there were endless exclamations. Including the general captain, together with 12 other Shinigami captains. Everyone's complexion froze. His expression and demeanor became extremely dignified. Even the Reiatsu of Zanpakutō, wood dragon, doesn't come with any targeted hostility attached. When the continuous pressure of the Reiatsu blast comes. Stronger than Shinigami captains. Unexpectedly, at this time, they coincidentally felt heavy pressure. Alas, compared to the last time in the martial arts arena. Bai Chen's aura has obviously improved a lot. I knew that all of us should listen to advice. Pied jacket flicked. The hat on top of his head was almost blown off. Every ray of Reiatsu wind blows across the face. Hiraku Shunsui will have a knife-like pain. This proves. Reiatsu of Zanpakutō, wooden dragon. Apparently it has reached the point of full materialization. And this is also a manifestation of Reiatsu's density and strength, which almost reached ultimate. Yes, continue to keep on bombarding like this. My sickly body, I really can't bear it. Just for such a brief period of time. Jashiro Yukitaki's complexion turned pale rapidly. To avoid coughing, filling the lungs with an overdose of Reiatsu gale in one breath. As the captain of the 13th division, Jashiro Yukitake could only forcefully hold his breath at first. But later, in order to be able to keep breathing smoothly, Jashiro Yukitake simply went straight to Reiatsu Waifu. Use Reiatsu to cover the whole body. Use this to defend against the imposing oppression of the Zanpakutō, wooden dragon. And this move by Jashiro Yukitake. Naturally, it aroused the exclamation of outsiders. Look quickly. Captain Jashiro became the first person to release Reiatsu. He is one of the oldest century-old captains. A team of officers and soldiers guarding the periphery of the atrium. Looking at Jashiro Yukitake in disbelief. No one expected it. He was actually the first Shinigami captain who couldn't bear it and was forced to defend passively. But, within the next minute, along with the other Shinigami captains, Reiatsu was released one after another to defend. The members of the first team quickly became numb. Looking at the chaotic scene in the atrium, everyone was stunned. It was as if they were witnessing an absurd farce. I didn't expect that this guy didn't lie. This kind of feeling of being stepped on the head and pointing fingers in front of the face is really uncomfortable. In chaos, Kuretsuchi Mayuri had a dark expression. An exasperated complaint. Deep down in his heart, he was extremely angry, holding back his anger. Although Kuretsuchi Mayuri doesn't care about being slapped in the face. But competitive character, and proud self-esteem. It still made him feel helpless. Master Mayuri, are you alright? Nianmeng's loyal and awe-inspiring voice came from behind him. HMPH, what do you think? Kuretsuchi Mayuri in a rage. After grunting unhappily, he looked back and ordered in a cold voice. Start recording now, regarding the liberation process of this wooden Zanpakutō. Give me a complete record from beginning to end. Although full of anger, but what he said just now was not for revenge on Bai Chen. Just because, as a persistent scientific geek, Kuretsuchi Mayuri for anything new and fresh, will have a strong curiosity and desire to explore. Yes, after experiencing the strength of the Zanpakutō, wooden dragon, firsthand. For this rare wooden Zanpakutō, Kuretsuchi Mayuri's instant interest. And look at the entire Soul Society. There are very few Zanpakutō that can catch Kuretsuchi Mayuri's attention. See Zanpakutō, wooden dragon. How powerful it is. At the same time, ignored the chaos around him. Bai Chen holds Zanpakutō with one hand, and proceeds with Zanpakutō liberation. Birthday in the tree world. With a light drink. The wood-style secret technique is activated instantly. In the next moment, the atrium was already in a mess due to the raging Reiatsu blast. Once again experienced a terrifying magnitude 10 earthquake. Boom. The earth is torn apart. A lot of stone chips and gravel are flying. In barely a tenth of a second. The pitch-black ground fissures like spider webs covered the entire atrium floor in an instant, and even extended towards the surroundings. Leading to the entire team building. They were all severely affected. First the hurricane. Now it's another earthquake. What the hell is Bai Chen trying to do? Is he planning to tear down his house? In the cracks that are torn apart, Omaida's fat body is staggering here and there. In the case of sweating profusely, he can barely maintain his balance. But once you accidentally step on it, then it will be directly involved in the ground fissure, and the huge tree roots that were shot up into the sky will be directly submerged under the soil. Omaida's whining voice. It's not even airborne yet. Boom. Countless huge tree roots. It grows rapidly from the earth's crust. Under the support of the majestic Reiatsu, it instantly grows into a huge tree covering the sky and the sun. And the entire atrium of the first team. It is forced to change the landscape. Inexplicably, it merged with the earth and turned into a dense forest. And as the master of the Zanpakutō, wooden dragon, Bai Chen, who is in the middle of the forest, is anti-client and takes full advantage of the momentum. Overwhelming all Shinigami captains at the same time. Turned the first team's team building into his own home field. After the improvement of the system, and after the spiritual power of this 10. The birth of the tree realm, is really a magical skill to start a group. Bai Chen grinned slightly, showed a satisfied smile. Maybe in the ninja world. The feeling that the birth of the tree world brings to people. It's just breaking out of the ground and forcibly creating a forest. But, the Shinigami world is completely different. Here, everything is made up of spirit particles. Hence the power of wood-style mysticism. It depends on the strength of Reiatsu. And as soon as we talked about Reiatsu, Bai Chen immediately felt relieved. He who has ultimate sage body. In terms of Reiatsu, the target is the old man, Aizen and the others. Therefore, every big tree that is summoned, all equal to the materialization of Bai Chen's majestic Reiatsu. That is to say, unless Reiatsu is equal to Bai Chen, or outshine Bai Chen, if not, sword slashing, or the usual Kido bombardment. It is impossible to shake the slightest bit of this forest. And the only way to destroy the forest, only the captain himself will free Ryujin Jaka. Other than that, there is no other way. That's all. It lasted for several minutes. The earth finally stopped shaking. At this time, due to the dense forest, the light was dark. It was clearly broad daylight. But Shinigami captains have the illusion of being in the night. What surprised them even more? Look around. Plenty of thorny vines with sharp thorns. Like a thick boa constrictor, it keeps walking through the forest. If you are not careful, once brushed by the spikes, slight skin bruises and blood flow, more serious ones may even be pierced through the spirit body. This is too scary. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would have never imagined that the trees that can be seen everywhere would turn into murderous weapons. Vice Captain of Division 4. Katetsu Aizen's face paled. After seeing those thorns and vines that are constantly wandering, she curled up in fear. I am afraid that if I am not careful, I will be accidentally injured. And this moment, Katetsu Aizen also finally understood. Bai Chen's advice at the beginning was not blind self-confidence. 2. It has been considered in advance for everyone. He is truly capable of getting all the Shinigami captains into trouble at the same time. It's unbelievably strong. Quote. Bai Chen's strength is not limited to this level. It is different from his own adjutant. From the beginning to the end, Reiatsu stood calmly, as if nothing had happened. It is obvious that it has been expected long ago that the scene in front of me will happen. But, compared to Wood-style mysticism, in fact, Sister Hua cared more in her heart. Instead, it is Bai Chen's equally powerful swordsmanship. FFLX. For some time ago, the kendo sparring that has been agreed for a long time. Reiatsu has an attitude of anticipation every day. Even to avoid the long wait later, she made up her mind to recruit Bai Chen. Even the style of the fourth team is clearly incompatible with Bai Chen. But as long as you can bind Bai Chen by your side for a long time, then it is the most reasonable decision. At this time, as the riots gradually subsided, Bai Chen also closed up Reiatsu, and the Shikai process is over. Captains, this is the actual interpretation of my Zanpakutō, wooden dragon. I wonder if I can satisfy you all. Hold the knife handle. Bai Chen asked with a chuckle, while retracting the Zanpakutō back into the scabbard. But what he said, obviously there is no intention of showing off. But once again, the Shinigami captains seem to be under the magic of silence for all. Everyone smiles. Change. Frozen in place, speechless. Whether you are satisfied or not, do you need to ask? The entire first team building is almost about to fall. This is unprecedented. It was silent for several minutes. The captains were relieved. The captain raised his eyes, and his eyes were no longer cloudy, but became brighter than ever before. While looking at Zanpakutō, Wood Dragon, he was full of praise. Good. Bai Chen, with your strength, there is no doubt that you have the qualifications to select any team. Even serving as an adjutant and accumulating qualifications is no problem. The captain's words. In an instant, the expressions of the 12 adjutants present suddenly changed dramatically. The team leader intends to appoint Bai Chen directly. Replace any of them. I didn't expect. In the old man's mind, Bai Chen's status is so high. Jashiro Yukitaki's eyes flickered. As Shiba Kaien's boss, of course he wants to recruit Bai Chen. But, after seeing the powerful strength of Zanpakutō, Wooden Dragon, Jashiro Yukitaki loses all confidence in an instant. Zhao's for a top talent like Bai Chen, any captain will definitely fight for it with all his strength. Subsequently, under the command of the captain, the next link was originally sorted according to the number, and each captain made a statement and recruited separately. I haven't waited for the captains to speak. Instead, Bai Chen took the initiative to express his favorite choice. Captain, all captains, it is necessary to tell you in advance. In fact, as early as on the way to the first team, I have already made a decision. Bai Chen took the initiative to confess. Oh, already have an answer. Which captain is so attractive? Can let Bai Chen make a decision early on. Hear Bai Chen's words. Even the captain was very surprised. But after thinking about it, he squinted at the queue on the right. His eyes fell on Shiba Yixin. Should it be the 10th squad? Some time ago, under the appointment of my husband, Shiba Yixin and Matsumoto Rangaku became your teaching instructors. That's right, Bai Chen. The captain's loud voice spread throughout the audience. And Shiba Yixin, who was named by him, showed a determined smile on his face. As if foreseen. Later, Bai Chen personally nodded to confirm, announcing the scene where he chose to join the Juban team. However, when all the focus is on Bai Chen, the answer he gave next took everyone by surprise. Captain, Yun, the team I want to join is. Look away. Fall into the right team. On the body of Jashiro Yukitaki with white hair and frail face. Bai Chen replied affirmatively. Squad 13.